where that Echo was, but it's not going to matter. Kirk on the flank finds it down onto one. Riot's already down, so it's a technical 1 versus 2. And Bry just swung to his death. Twizzler on the top floor will look to retrieve their teammates, but a Kirk can find the timing and clutch it out. An ace for Kirk.
But Spider still gets a kill, and then X are not ready for it in the corner, but oh my goodness, he gets the kill anyways! He gets the kill, Teddy left alive. He doesn't yet again for Mirage! He's low on health, especially when the Vulcan canisters are in play, but now Ambi low as well, but he takes the kill anyways! He's still left, but with 15 seconds and not too much intel as to where they are, it's not looking great for him, but he's just got the isolated frag on Aimkey, and the last one's left in Freezer. This could be a very easy pick to find if he just looks in the right corners with the shotgun as well. He'll be lethal in the close range. A 1-on-2 for the Gridlock.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to the XGS Spring Burst. We are so excited to have you here. I am Swan, joined this evening by, once again, one of my favorite co-casters, Sirius. How we doing, man?
I'm doing great. I'm going to get your name right this time, because last time I did not. It's going to be me and Swanberg, so I'm very excited about this one, because it's going to be a very quick and hopefully a very exciting elimination match between Bros Without Hose and Wasted Talent. So, I mean, just kind of give you a brief glimpse of how we got here. Both of these lost their very first matchups to open up the event. And then ultimately, Valkyrie won in the promotion match, so whoever wins this will go on to play against Coastal Gaming. We'll have to see if it's a rematch for Bros Without Hose or if it's going to be a new one for Wasted Talent.
Who evidently, of course, faced off against Valkyrie in that bracket's grand final. And once again, I think you mentioned it, but this is one of our Group B matches for, I think, our actually, in this case, final Group B match at this point. But once again, let's talk about today's matchup overall, and that is going to be Bros Without Hose versus Wasted Talent.
I mean, yeah, this is going to be a very exciting matchup because they were both had very close games against their initial opponents, and otherwise it was just kind of a few things that kind of costed them certain rounds, didn't get them all the way to overtime. Just a few small different little bits of mistakes kind of here and there, but should be easy for them to patch up if they VOD reviewed their matchup, which I would imagine they would. We've got a lot of former Element roster members on both of these teams, so I mean, one would expect that this is going to be a very high quality match.
And speaking of those teams, I think it's about time we take a quick look at the rosters we're holding on to today. Starting off, we're going to have Bros Without Hose. That is going to be Joe, Mike W, Salathi, Snoopy, and Quartz this evening. And something I want to touch on really quickly too is just the round differential so far, heating more toward that defense, which I think is a pretty consistent theme overall for the majority of these teams.
Yeah, I would definitely harder to say that defense has been slightly in the lead so far this event. It started off very weird where the attack was kind of in the lead for a little bit towards the beginning of the event, but otherwise I think it's kind of settled down now. We're getting back into the overall defensive sided meta, and just like I said, defense looked really great for both of these teams, but then once they got into the attack, it was just kind of, all right, we're trying to slip up a little bit as we kind of, I would imagine, it's move on to Wasted Talent's roster, and we'll see a very similar story for both of these teams, just a 50% win rate, and then at 33 on attack with roster members of Rival, Zim, Rovi, Explicit, and ALX PRS. Not sure how you actually say that in a full sentence, but we'll get there when we do. Alex. I've just been told it's Alex, so that is very useful information.
Good.
Nonetheless, we're not gonna have that nightmare.
Nonetheless, though, as much as we may be confused on Alex's name, there are a couple of players in particular that I think we're looking to highlight today in a quick head-to-head, as we're going to take a look at the comparison here between Snoopy and Rival, and oh my lord, they're looking mighty similar in my eyes. Serious?
I mean, but the biggest difference is that Rival has a better overall entry. He's been getting a lot more of those engagements. 3 overall, won 2 of them, but his survival wasn't nearly as impactful as Snoopy's. That's the biggest difference I'm noticing just now, is that Snoopy, while he may be not getting in as many entry engagements, he's getting kills, he's getting those engagements, and staying alive for a majority of those rounds, just sitting below the 50% mark. So if he stays alive, you can overall expect him to have a huge impact in the round, considering that he has a 75% cost right now. Rival on the other end, don't really expect him to stay alive for too much longer. He'll maybe get that entry pick, but then who's to really say after that? It's kind of just needs him to kind of be more impactful in later parts of the round, but otherwise still looking great. Not to kind of diss Rival right now, just that's a little bit of a difference we're seeing.
And I think they kind of fit different roles in that regard as well then, of Rival's kind of that heavy hitter as you open into this round. We of course, we already touched on it, but 3 entries over Snoopy's, I believe that would be 2 then so far, and he's won 2 of those, meaning that he's kind of the in for Wasted Talent, it seems, at least in this comparison against Snoopy, of he's the player you can rely on that even if it involves him kind of sacrificing his life, he's going to make sure that opening is found, a trade is set up, he gets the position that Wasted Talent wants in order to potentially shift later into that round for the overarching goal.
Yeah, that's definitely going to be one of the biggest things. It's just like seeing how they kind of play about these maps, because they both have very default-oriented lineups as far as their maps go. We're starting to see some of them come on in, and Oregon and Nighthaven as our first 2 maps. That's going to be interesting, because Bros Without Hose typically don't permaban Nighthaven very often. I'm very surprised that they banned Skyscraper. That's one of their kind of more favorite maps from Quals, but otherwise we're still sticking with the defaults of Oregon and Club as 1 and 3. But Nighthaven's going to be a very interesting pick for me, considering that Wasted Talent like that map, but Rose do not whatsoever.
And that's something we kind of touched on even before we were taking a look at this, but it's so perplexing that if it's your permaban, especially in a relatively high stakes match like this, where it's either, oh, we're moving on or going home, then I'm not quite sure what the idea was to leave Nighthaven on the board, especially considering that BWH is a fan of that map. So it's going to be really interesting to see as we get into that map too, how that is going to play out. And for the other 2 maps, relatively default overall. I think that any team could be strong on Oregon and Clubhouse. It just comes down to kind of mentality, momentum, some external issues that could apply to how they're going to play out those maps.
I mean, we already know how Club went for both of them. They both lost that first match 7-5 against their entry opponents, so we know how Club is for them. We know they're comfortable on it. It's just a matter of, okay, how do they do on Oregon and then Nighthaven Labs, which is going to be the interesting one for me, because I honestly want to say that if Wasted Talent win the first map, they may have a better chance of just 2-0ing their opponents, moving on to that ultimate decider match, and then just try to figure out a way to get into playoffs from there. We'll have to see if that's how it ends up, because Bros Without Hose, if they win first map, then honestly, I could still see this going 3 maps overall, but just need to figure out some of their entry kind of overall momentums, because one thing I noticed from their previous matchup for Bros was that they were very aggressive, but also left up a lot of gaps on their defense, so that kind of costed them a few rounds, and just otherwise really could not figure out a way to accurately figure out how to attack the defensive setups with overall synergy and cohesion as a roster. So moving into this, I would hope to see that they've kind of shored up some of those mistakes.
And they're going to have to, if you want, especially on our first map being Oregon. It's so default that if you leave a gap on a map like Oregon, it's going to be isolated and, more importantly, taken out immediately. But as we move toward operator bans here, our first operator ban is going to be Grim, of all things. Serious?
That's an interesting one. We don't typically see that too often. I mean, I can't remember the last time if we've ever casted a game where Grim was banned. I certainly don't think we have, but
I haven't.
It's definitely good. I definitely like it as a kind of like an option, just kind of like people don't expect this. It's like denial of the execute stage of the overall attack, because you want to know where those attacker or defenders are, figure out where they're positioned at, and then you can swing them as a unit. But if you take away that option, you have to invest other resources into it. So just otherwise going into very default heavy lineup for bans with a Dokkaebi and a Azami, and we'll have to just see what the last ban is. I would imagine it's going to be like a Solus, Mira, or even a Valk at that point, so wouldn't expect anything out of the ordinary unless Wasted Talent is... Alright, that's another one that I just failed to mention, is a Fenrir. So just otherwise, very default outside of that Grim, but even then, I could still see the reasoning behind it.
I think there is plenty of reason to take out that Grim, like you said, but I'm more thinking of the opportunities left by banning the Grim on the board. We see a lot of teams for Oregon take out operators like Flores, take out an operator like Ying, and having those two power positions on the board still, and we're already going to see one of them being brought overall as we move through pick phase, is the Ying for Joe. It's that give and take that happens, of course, during operator bans, and I think that Wasted Talent is surely going to have to try and account for that, and hopefully is going to read into the fact that if you leave an operator like Ying on the board, there's almost no reason not to bring her, depending on your take.
Well, in the very least, Rovi is going to be on the Warden, so it's not that big of a deal if he's placed in the right position, but overall, they just need to make sure they kind of figure out where exactly bros are going to be coming in first things first. Is it going to be a default top-down take, or is it going to be a heavy bunker push? Considering that I'm seeing Mike W on the Monty, that is certainly an option. Get him into position behind those barrels, force his way into elbow behind those Yin Candelas to kind of open up that space, make it to where Pillar is not exactly the same option. So overall, Rovi, already sitting in the middle of elbow, is going to be in prime position to deny that exact take.
Great work of the utility as we start shifting into this first round. That is already one of those Goyo canisters gone. And if they're heading toward this bunker take that you mentioned, that's actually huge. As moreover, considering the fact that Mike W is on the Monty, that really lets him walk in and take that space even faster than he would have having to contend with those Goyo cans overall. For the rest of Wasted Talent, it looks like they're going to continue to implement their due diligence of ensuring that they just clear top down. It didn't look like Wasted Talent had that strong of a roam game. It was, I believe, 3 players stuck on the bottom floor as well as this player in rear stage. And Rival heating up, of course, now toward Laundry. Overall, just trying to get a read on where BWH is coming from.
Can't tell if Rival actually moved his way up towards those armory stairs and potentially going for a late flank in the later part of the round. Already got past a little bit of the first minute mark, so overall things have been progressing very slowly for both teams. BWH just trying to get into prime position, possibly open up that high pressure onto Pillar itself, as well as those back stairs, and then Mike W can push in later. Look at this right now. Epic has actually rotated with Rovi onto the elbow position, so he can deny Mike W for a lot longer than what would otherwise be with Rovi. Now that he's actually having to press up onto that blue jump, or he's gonna be in a weird spot where he has to place his position very safe.
Mike W's only support is Joe. Rival with, I'm not sure if it was a sound call, a read, or otherwise, but he's going to take out Quartz through the wall. That's the first pick of this round as we move just outside a minute left on the clock. And BWH is going to have to start actually finding some motion for this objective. Those U Candelas that we talked about are going to come out. That should assist in denying that pillar position. Snoopy barely dodges the Nitro, but drops right into the vector of World. Now, Joe able to pick up a pick on the back stairs, but nonetheless, Swamp is going to start shifting in behind all of these defenders. Mike W stranded alone on elbow, Rockstar shuts him down, and now it's a 1v4, make it a 0v4 as Wasted Talent quickly takes down the works of BWH.
I mean, and they really didn't have to work too hard for that whatsoever. They all kind of sat in the positions that they started in, more or less, in the beginning of the round. Rovi just kind of traded positions, realizing that, hey, I'll have bigger impact on the back stairs, delay a little bit of time, have the better gun, and then just let Epic do the stall work for Mike W. Just let him sit back and kind of just be a distraction at that point, because really, he had no support that entire round. He was only pushing elbow by himself. He had no support behind him. I don't know where those people were going. It seemed like they were more functioning for Pillar, but we already saw that Rovi positioned himself in that area, so even though he ultimately didn't get the kill on the league player, he's just can deny that all day long, and there's just no pressure as to be established on Pillar because Mike W couldn't do anything. Kings currently aren't doing anything, and the utility just in general for those did not have a huge impact in making sure that they get those positions under their control.
100% agree. They just simply, for themselves, didn't open a gap at all to enter the objective that round whatsoever. Speaking of our objective, we're going to move on to our second round here, as Wasted Talent's going to take their way upstairs to Kids Dorms. Leaning more toward that stall-heavy lineup we see them bring again. Have a Legion this time, Goyo, as well as still holding on to those smoke canisters as well. But mixed up from BWH, Joe on the Amari.
And we'll have to see. I think he's already actually up onto big power, so he's already starting to apply some pressure, but Forth at the same time did dump a lot of damage into Rival, but also lost his head in return for it. So that's already some early pressure now on from the mountain air, so they're going to find another way to get back onto those armory stairs and put some pressure onto the player that's in the middle of armory right now. Because Mike W is having to deal with a lot of pressure. He could get swung on right now.
Oh, Rovi wanted to so bad. I can tell he really wanted to. I like that he didn't. It's the safer option here, but Mike W is in a very precarious spot. Losing that early pick now for BWH is going to leave them once again seemingly scrambling for a foothold across this entire map. And they don't have much of anything. Forts had walked into Z earlier and lost his life, and now they're just looking for anything. Rovi actually looking for something himself, walking outside, not aware that Mike W is in fact right behind the panel, sitting directly in front of him.
Surely Rovi or Mike has actually hurt him at this point. Rovi, you gotta be careful, buddy. He does swing out initially, does do a little bit of damage, just trying to bait out some of those shots. Ultimately gonna try to run out for it even further, but Mike W does get a little bit to safety. So even things overall, but Pros are struggling to get even a little bit of control. They finally get him out of the way, but look at how much time he wasted just doing that alone.
That should give them a substantial amount of space to take control of, though. I believe they have it all the way up the trophy, and Joe walked all the way in Attic, but no, Joe, you have to hit those. World not gonna be able to secure it, though, as somehow Joe is left on a sliver of HP. BWH now with a very, very strong position. Trade comes out from Snoopy, now with 3v2. Rock left on but a sliver of HP in the backside, and Joe is on a terror in this Attic position right now. And for Rockstar, it seems there's not much he can do. They had plenty of space earlier, and honestly, Wasted Talent really didn't even have the peak, but letting Joe in this Attic position was the final in the coffin. They got their picks, Atheist is now going to start going down, and Rockstar, while he can stall all he wants, still has to contend with finding 3. Swings out toward Trophy, spots the other player, and he's just scrambling back and forth between these two doorways, not quite able to find anything, as Joe for 3 is going to finish him off.
I mean, aside from that very scrappy gunfight where both players were whiffing their shots, he eventually locked in, got that final kill, and then asserted so much control because that locked down a lot of those rotate potential for Wasted Talent. He applied so much pressure onto that kid's player, really locked him down as soon as they got rid of the Goyo, who just swung out in the middle of Trophy. Once that player is dead, then really Epic at that point has nowhere left to go. He is covered from both ways that he can potentially rotate out of. The only option left was really try to rotate over towards the lungs and then find a way to kind of get that kill somewhere else. But even then, that's kind of a very tough position. And it all came down to the fact that I feel like really they over-aggressed at the worst possible times. Really just like Rovi kind of just didn't really need to do that much. He was wasting so much time, and then everyone else just left a huge gap in Attic. Let Joe take so much control, really for nothing. He just kind of did take a lot of damage in the initial gunfight, but then once he held that control, he locked it down for the rest of that round and was not giving it up.
5 seconds remaining.
Lessons learned as they come back to the same objective, at least hopefully lessons learned, because I actually didn't hate their hold overall. In fact, it was working excellently. That first pick on the courts was obviously great. I'm not quite sure what he was doing. I think he was just playing his job as Nook, trying to work up and got caught out by Rival there. But nonetheless, they had almost no space, and I think it was like a minute 15, a minute 20, as Mike W finally got that pick on the balcony onto Rovi, and it seems they're going to quickly take that speed and move it into a much swifter pace this round, as Rovi falls to Mike W in the first 30 seconds.
Okay, the big player that was super aggressive in the middle of Master is already dead after the first 30 seconds of the round, so that's already a lot of pressure gone from what was giving you so much trouble in that last round. Alex, though, is going to be trying to apply some pressure onto that White Stairs window player, but he's going to get away safely. Just hold down Slothy a little bit longer. Tries to aggress, but Slothy's locking down that angle. That's maybe not so advised right now. Play closer to the site, play what you already have under your control, because right now, Bros are actually encircling the bomb site. We see players coming in from Master, coming in from Big Window. They're all over the place trying to push all directions.
And this is where it's going to get really hairy for Wasted Talent. Constricting these defenders into their own objective. They may think they have a bunker, but it allows you to poke these little tiny holes in their defense. Rival, the only player left on the roam as of now downstairs, just trying to stall for as much time as he can and play for his life. That's the fun though by Snoopy. The Goomine is going to do wonders for him as he catches him out. Slothy holding for this man's rotate back, but he is wasting no time. And now it's kind of up to the Wasted Talent to just slow down. You've got your pick, you've got your trade back. Now all you have to do is reset and wait for Bros Without Host to do something similar to what they did last round, which is aggress later in the side. Alex is going to shut down Slothy on that outside angle, and now that allows Rival to rotate back upstairs with him too, further substantiating their hold on this objective. Joe is going to take out Alex on his way back up the stairs, though, as Quartz, in conjunction with Joe, are going to start pressuring the site. Candelas are going to allow him to hop in that dorm's window. He has the position now behind Hobo, but Quartz is holding a crossbar in the site. Mike W walks up right behind the eyes of Alex and Rival, and now, once again, a great hold from Wasted Talent. Looks like it's gone to the wayside. Diffuser should go down without issue here, and it's Epic once again fending for himself. Looking for something right now, but once again, it seems it just fell apart in the hands of Wasted Talent. I'm not sure if they just missed the Candelas to the window, if that was the end. Mike W walked up white and got 2 for free, and it's pretty much the exact same thing we saw last round, right? Epic scrambling in a 1v3.
Yeah, he's just in the really tough spot. He is eventually going to be taken down by Joe, which honestly I do think was a big critical point of that round. He was positioning himself on big window for almost the entirety of it, and then just tossing Candelas opened up that space because that really forced people to get really into safety in the middle of kids, allow a little bit of that space to be applied over towards white stairs. That way Mike W can actually swing up onto it relatively safely, because who's all really left? It's going to be Epic in the middle of kids. You already established that in the previous round. Now Malusi is just kind of in an awkward spot, having to run away from Ella. I assume he ran over towards kids, but that's a point where I think Mike got the kill on him. So it really comes down to where that last player was. I don't know exactly for sure, but just the fact that they still played very calm, played around the Yin Candelas to apply some of that pressure, open up some of that space, and then allow Mike to get deep into the bomb site was a huge critical point of that round, which was otherwise kind of progressing a little bit similar to how that previous round went, where they didn't really have much to work with. They had some early pressure, but they couldn't really find that initial next in. Yin Candelas, which we kind of pointed out what might be a big factor in them winning a lot of these rounds, has been proving to actually, be a real stopping force for the attack.
I'm not sure what I guess Wasted Talent isn't missing in these late rounds. They look great all up until that 45-second, 1 minute mark, and it just all crumbles. I don't know if it's because they're missing the gaps, if they're getting too comfortable, and to me it looks like they're getting more antsy overall, as they're just shifting around the map where they don't necessarily need to be. You can just hold these power positions and stall for time. Heading back down to the basement though, Rival's gonna catch some early contest outside the main area, catches Quartz's ankle, but Quartz is gonna connect more shots than he did. Rival is left on a microscopic amount of HP as he very intelligently retreats back to his objective.
Ooh, and again, already a big point of contention lost early on for Wasted Talent, kind of similar to last round. So they've, aside from just that early first round where they started to do a little bit better job there, they haven't really been connecting on it nearly as much. Bros have been really dominant on the entry game so far, other than that very first round. So they've been really locking things down, making sure that Wasted Talent can't get the initial go for, then really forcing them back to the bomb site. That's really allowing them a large part of their control, is just constricting them to the bomb site and then working around the opponent. I already see them opening up the epoch hatch, so minute 30 left, they still have a lot of time to work with, especially with Mike back onto the Monty, and then Snoopy's actually moved over to the Cap Tower to lock down a lot of these angles and really constrict a lot of the movement of the defense.
That's exactly what they're going to have to do. I'm hoping that this time Mike W has a little bit more support as they start eventually making their way in bunker here, and that's something that they're going to have to do.
Oh, hey, we're back.
It's about to say a little bit of static. I don't know if the average Rainbow Six Siege moment. Nonetheless, Mike actually not shifting toward bunker this time, but instead going to be walking down Laundry. They still have to find a solution to this mirror window that is going to be holding Mike W down. He does have the diffuser in his hand too. They want to end on this laundry side. However, Wasted Talent does have to continue being aware of the presence from this bunker area.
Oh, but they don't have anything to take care of this mirror. So Mike W is going to have to get in very close. Next big crucial point is going to be getting freezer control, which means they still have a player over by that hard wall and another player just swinging in the middle of that hallway. Like you said, Mike needs a little bit of support, but he's not really getting it at this point. He's going to be coming down to this bunker rush. It's not working out so far.
Roby opening things out, and it's chaos in the bunker. Rival on site finally removes that shield of the Monty, and it's 2 for Roby. It's the Reaper Wasted Talent, and it is a slaughter as Wasted Talent finds a flawless round.
Ooh, okay, and just kind of explosive almost immediately like that. They just kind of funneled their way into certain choke points for the defense, which Wasted Talent were fully prepared for. There were like 3 players towards that front side push and then just immediately responded to that bunker hit. Because, I mean, Bros, again, just seemingly don't have the control they need to actually properly execute onto the laundry bomb site like they wanted to. They just had to storm through a Goyo canister in the middle of that blue door and then just got burned alive and then dealt with by the elbow player and the pillar player at the same time. That loses a lot of your overall just kind of oomph factor to kind of get into the bomb site. Otherwise, Mike W, he's been trying to assert some pressure with the Monty, but hasn't been able to do anything with it. He's just kind of on his own, from no support by his teammates whatsoever. So he's just kind of, all right, I guess I'm just gonna be standing here with a shield in front of my face, doing absolutely nothing to really help my team get forward because I don't have anything sort of able to do that.
And something else you mentioned that I want to touch on really quick. You said that Freezer was going to be a critical point in that take, and I 100% agree, and yet, when it came to BWH's final execute, they had no presence toward that area of the map whatsoever. It's just, they seemingly, you said it yourself, misuse of utility and misplacement of their players to achieve the objective that they actually want. Hopefully, though, as we shift back upstairs here for Wasted Talent, we're going to see them have what similar success as they did in previous.
Ooh, they wanted to really change something up because their last 2 attempts with the kids' bomb site, it's just not really been working out. And their early rounds are great, but like you kind of mentioned, the late round falls apart and it just kind of comes down to just really good positioning by Bros and then just good utility at the very end. Not like we're seeing on Laundry whatsoever. They've been clinical about their usage of utility on the upstairs bomb site. Just need to see them maybe translated to a different bomb site as well. On top of that, probably won't see it on Laundry once again. It's kind of be locked down for the rest of this half, but at this point, Wasted Talent need to figure out what that next factor is because they got control of the early round. Can't translate it to late.
Games Breach are going to be opened up. It's going to have access and sight lines across the entire objective for now for BWH. And Wasted Talent is looking a little bit more passive than they had in previous. A few rounds ago, I think it was Rival who was now on the Solus extending all the way downstairs. And I think he had somebody supporting him. But moreover, BWH seemingly isn't looking for them nearly as much. They're very focused on this attic side right now in conjunction with that main breach that they got opened earlier.
And they're just kind of letting Rival do his own thing downstairs. Like you said, he's just kind of being left to his own devices. They're not really emphasizing for much of anything. They're just locking down what they have control of already. So Joe, I think, is going to be another big factor for him getting these team details into the fight. But we're already noticing that Roby has switched back onto the Warden, so it's really as effective as it was the previous time we saw this.
Joe trying to use those Candelas once again to find that first point of entry into Kids. Wasted Talent picks up 2 courts, has the gap in attic though, he sneaks into Kids, not quite able to find anything. Roby swings out, and it's a disaster again for BWH. These takes just falling apart as Slothy scrambles to find anything. He's stranded on white, the Fuser is across the map, and there is almost nothing he can do. He's just getting poked out from literally every direction right now.
Not much that he could do. He's just going to be taking a lot more damage than he can realistically deal out. Roby is going to eventually finish that round off. And I mean, they made the adjustment. They finally figured out what they needed to do. And it seemed like it was going to be more concise hold of the actual bomb site itself. Let Rival do his own thing downstairs. Don't worry about him. Just kind of let him do his own thing. what we really need to focus on is actually holding the bomb site. We didn't see nearly as many aggressive swings, kind of swinging out for no apparent reason other than just we can, and I feel very confident in my abilities. They can have these
Attackers
aggressive
need to
gunfights,
locate and
but just
defuse
do
as
it
many
with
bombs as
smart,
they can.
actual precision play behind it. Otherwise, they're just playing off of each other, playing these angles, and actually playing around the Warden, which is a hard counter to the game
have
that we've
located a
seen
bomb.
so much for pros at this point. I don't know why they weren't bringing it up before, but I'm glad to see that Rovi made the adjustment to go onto that, because that Joe did not have any impact on that round at all. He tossed in those Kindles and didn't do a thing with them.
You couldn't get them as deep as you wanted, and as you said, the Warden completely shuts down everything about the Candles, which is the flash factor. So, good adaptation from them, as well as just letting Rival do his thing. I think it's fine leaving him alone, especially if BWH is going to essentially leave him be as well. It's from previous rounds, we've seen him able to skate out of split after finding a pick, go all the way back to kitchen. His survival factor is a non-issue. We're gonna head to a tertiary bomb site here, though, for the wasted talent now, and as I believe it's going to be meeting and kitchen.
They're just being still not getting up. Their overall setup is just kind of still getting a little bit later into the round. We're already 30 seconds in, and they're still making adjustments. I have to see if they're fully prepared for this overall take by Bros, because they're already getting into the building, starting to drone things out, finding those gaps. Where is that actual A start? That one part of the split wall, so they've already got a bit of control, but Epic is going to be trying to position himself so that way they can't immediately go for that execute. But they're going to have to open up that double wall, because if really Alex can still sit around here, that's going to be a big part of them not being able to plant safely.
I do worry here for Snoopy, though. He is pushing this on his lonesome. That's something we've seen BWH do a couple of times, trusting one of their players to be by himself. Typically, it was the Monty, so you, of course, have a shield to protect you. But I do worry, because Rival was playing that Z position, that if they try and start working their way into sight, that it could lead to disaster. Just constricting like we've seen them do in the past. Full coverage of the map so far. You have the Rava in the main lobby. You have Pace there to support him. Rovi gonna start things off, though, in Big Tower.
And somehow, slipping by completely unnoticed, did he force his way through Attic and just take that control? I don't know how he got here with that wall open, but nevertheless, he's here now, and Snoopy's taking a ton of damage. He's eventually going to get down. Mike W's going to try to open up that wall, but these are just falling apart for Rose. It's only Quartz left. He's going to get one to deny it flawless, but what happened to this attack?
I'm so confused, actually. Everything was fine, and then Rovi gets one pick, and Wasted Talent just has the awareness to start swinging out from sight. Quartz gonna have the awareness to watch that swing from the garage, though. Takes down Epic. Still, though, an effective 1v3 for him. Fighting for that Legion, not quite able to find anything. Pre-fires the rear stairs, and Wasted Talent, once again, has the perfect read into the attack of BWH.
I mean, and I don't know where the thing started to kind of crumble overall, because they didn't really get much pressure established overall from that split hallway area. It's just, okay, they opened up the wall, but then what? We just left Slothy over there, just opened up that wall, and then he didn't really establish much pressure. Epic was the one establishing pressure, because again, they didn't take care of Z-Hall, they didn't open up that double door, so then you just kind of have to leave it to the later part of the round, and then somehow Obi's able to make his way towards the back tower stairs. I don't know what happened, because they have a Nomad, they have a thing to watch for those kind of flanks coming in, but just somehow goes right on through, kills one player, and then just completely disrupts that entire attack by Bros, all in one fell swoop, because everyone kind of capitalized on it.
We did know before this game started, though, that both of these teams, as well as the majority of our teams, lean toward the more defensive side when it comes to their success. And now as we swap into this half, BWH is going to be starting on their defense on the basement side. So I'm wondering if shifting to this defense is going to be the start of the momentum shift that they need to eventually start bringing this map back.
I mean, I would certainly hope so, because, I mean, it is a more defender-sided map, so that would make a lot of sense, but just, again, some of these things were just like, okay, they click in certain rounds, but then you completely crumble in others. Just need to see them kind of be a bit more consistent on it. That's my biggest thing so far for Bros, is that they just haven't been looking as consistent from round to round. They had that 2-round streak on Kids, but then that's kind of been it. Everything else has just been like, okay, we see the idea, but there's no execution behind it. Now they're going to be trying to go for a very aggressive roam on the upstairs, opposite of what we saw from Wasted Talent. So they really need to make sure that they make this roam work overall, and Roby is going to go down to Joe.
An aggressive start, and it's seemingly working for them. They are much more comfortable in their own skin, it seems, and that is going to be the case down on rear stage 2. With this extended roam, that means so many of these defenders could try and rotate over, help hold this case down, and more importantly, stall for plenty of time against Wasted Talent. Joe's going to retreat back down to Pillar instead, but this roam is still very much awake. I do worry for the clock, though, of Wasted Talent, as they're more worried about this vertical roam clear than trying to regain control of that diffuser.
I mean, now every single roamer is now practically gone. There's nobody left, so they're just wasting a lot of their own time. Yeah, there's still player forwards with Pillar. Joe can still get aggressive, but everyone else is effectively back on the bomb site. There's no one on the roam anymore, so they're just wasting your own time. Like you said, halfway through the round now, and I still think they're trying to clear things out. We don't know for certain. Like, joining things out over the tower side, like, they need to start actually pressuring the bomb site itself, getting things open. It does seem that they finally got Epoch Patch open. Just need to start picking apart this Pillar defense.
No warden for the defense of BWH. Those Candelas are going to have so much effectiveness, and Mike W. crept up Freezer stairs and lurked into shower, and now it's Snoopy to pick up another, and they have a perfect few picks on the Wasted Talent. Alex, trying to make it work, though. Picks up his first kill onto Quartz. Still has to find 4 more. No case in hand. Stuck in bunker all alone. His teammates just being taken out by Mike W. He's not being able to find anything right now. A second on the Salafi makes a 1v3. But still, this bunker position is not where he wants to be. Doesn't really have enough time to rotate around, but they're actually going to let Alex walk all the way through Pillar as he shifts toward these rear stairs. And they're going to let him walk all the way through. They know diffuser's there. All they have to do is wait. Finds the player onto rear stairs. Snoopy retreating all the way back up, but he should very well have control of the diffuser now, but he just does not want to give them anything. Walks all the way up, doesn't check the corner, and it's Snoopy to close it out.
Overall, a very great aggressive roam being put up by Bros, and just really completely threw Wasted Talent for a loop. They didn't know exactly if they want to go for site direct or deal with the pressure that was being established by the roam. And effectively, they kind of went a little bit half and half. Still try to lead people up to deal with it, but ultimately that fell apart because you're not investing in it properly. And then you're just overall site execute falls apart because of that. Mike W, not aggressive at the right time, realized there's a huge gap in the kitchen because nobody's here. There's not a single drone because he's on the Solus. He would know if someone's playing this far up and watching for his position, but allows him to get in, get that impact on the wall, takes out that Epoch Patch player, and then there's nobody left to lead pressure that far side out. They can just essentially sit there and roam and swing as much as they want. Rose, bring out the aggression like we thought we would, but just overall much more decisive way in doing so.
I like this adaptation from Bros as they shift towards this kids game site of bringing the warden. While they did win last round pretty substantially, the Yin Candelas did put them in a little bit of a scare toward that Pillar area. Not having that warden, and more importantly, not allocating some potential utility denial to that area, meant that if the Yin pushed at the right time, there would have been a huge gap of 1 or 2 picks in that area of Pillar. So great work kind of reading into the attack here of Wasted Talent, although the King is not on the board this time.
Well, and the Doc is actually going to be taken off. His Quartz is no longer going to be a factor in this, and that's going to be a lot of AP now taken out as well on top of that, because he can't heal up anyone else. Alex is still trying to get aggressive onto this attic window, but there's 2 players here waiting for him. But at the same time, Bros Without Host is completely falling apart. 2 more kills and at least 1 down at the very start is kind of just leaving it all up to 2 players, and they can't bring Rex Snoopy all the way up to full HP anymore.
Not what they wanted for sure. That player down and going to drop into meeting. Site should be essentially free right here, and I think Wasted Talent's going to realize that. Roby starts shifting his way in toward attic. Pretty sure he had sound on the player right. If not, that's where all of these defenders are rotating up toward nonetheless. That's going to be their only in back for the objective besides main. And Wasted Talent now has the entire control of the objective. It's almost as if the sides have swapped. Roby walking down right, picks up the kill onto Joe. Still looking for more. Can't be stopped. Snoopy falls onto his gun next. And now he's looking for a fourth. Spots out Mike W. Goes for the free fire, and it is a flawless round and 4 for Roby. An absolute monster in this take.
Okay. I mean, we didn't see all the kills kind of go down, but I mean, wasted talent, wasted no time. Kind of funny enough, just got 3 big picks, or at least 2 big picks and 1 down that gave them so much control of the bomb site, because Bros are having to scramble to try to figure out exactly what they still have, group up and get Snoopy back up on his feet. But that just leaves site completely wide open for them to take, and there's just no contestation whatsoever. Again, a little bit of that aggression that we're expecting out of them comes back to bite them. I talked about this in the pregame, is that they play very aggressive, but they come at a cost of them having huge gaps at times. And I believe that was a big part of, big example of that, is they try to play aggressive, got a lot of big picks taken away from them, and then they leave huge gaps in the bomb site that Wasted Talent are fully able to take advantage of.
I mean, it literally looked like they swapped teams. It was the entirety of Wasted Talent in the objective, and the rest of BWH downstairs. Just, oh, how do we walk back up into our own site that we've seemingly given away? And that down and Attic didn't help either. Of course, you're forced to drop meeting and pick him up if you want to even attempt to keep that player alive. Really just hurt them there. Gonna try and run it back though, heading back to the same objective here, and I'm hoping that they learn from their lessons. And Alex is not going to go big tower as the Amaru, something we see if the Amaru is brought. The typical plan usually is. And Mike W, a very aggressive try, and narrowly misses Epic.
That would have been the ace taken off the board, and not the only set of hard breaches, but a very big one at that. So thankfully, he is going to be still alive with Wasted Talent, and then he will be trying to force his way over the path to get that closet wall open. Not really any huge presence from Bros at this point in the round, but we already know their overall presence of just trying to swing out, apply some of that pressure themselves, and I do believe it is going to be Joe trying to take care of that.
Wasted Talent looking like, honestly, BWH in this round, trying to constrict as much as they can. Quartz finding the first pick onto Alex. The Amaru is gone. I'm not sure where he was in, and Rovi, you saw his head. Completely missing Joe there, as he's going to swing for free and take out the Ash on the window. And now that is 2 picks in favor of BWH, the complete opposite of what we saw last round.
Working a bit of revenge onto Alex, who killed him first very last round. So now they're in much better control, and they have not really had to do much. They're just playing aggressive at the right time, winging out what they need to, but overall, getting a lot closer on the bomb site, not really doing much. Now that they've got those 2 big picks, they're seeing them sit in corners, play a little bit closer to each other, making sure that they won't give up this bomb site nearly as easily as they did last time. The walls are starting to get open. Wasted Talent still can find a way in, but they don't have a lot of time or bodies to work with.
They need to find a pick here, and losing Epic is the exact opposite of what they're going to need. The Finka Stim is saving grace as he gets brought up after his peoples get taken out by Snoopy, and immediately is going to pick one up for himself in kind, though. I don't even know where he just got down from. I think Snoopy might have pre-fired his ankles on the way out. That's going to have to be what it is. Trying to further open this breach to deal with the position of Attic. This has been the fortress so far for BWH in this Wasted Talent attack. Dim rather, finding a pick for himself as this main breach is open, and honestly, they have a pretty substantial gap. They could walk in main breach here pretty easily and try and get the diffuser down. It's just dealing with this shield that Sloppy is playing. Quartz is going to make sure that's a difficult job to do, though, as he finds 2 as they rotate through Trophy. And now, Dim, stranded by himself, Snoopy finally picks up a full kill through this Attic position.
I mean, and just the hole that ace player just kind of made initially costed them so much. I mean, it's not something you would normally think about, just like, okay, let me just throw the ace on the wall, apply some pressure onto Attic, right? Totally simple thing. But the way he placed it made it so low that they cannot actually get the angle and actually give Snoopy the advantage because he can see your feet, but you can't see any of him whatsoever. So he can just poke shots into you the entire round. Got 2 downs for it, and then just kind of threw wasted talent for a loop when they were already scrambling to try to find something. Those 2 picks to try to get them closer into that round were not really all that impactful because they don't have the space towards bunks. If you're going to funnel towards trophy door, you got to take care of that bunks player because Quartz is just going to be taking that long angle fight all day long. He's on the dock. He's ready for that aggressive fight.
And he didn't miss. I would have really liked to see them opt for the main breach there instead of trying to force trophy. You knew Snoopy had your ankles the entire time. You tried to open the breach and it was still scuffed, might I add. A bit of tragedy for the ace there, but he made essentially 2 windows for Snoopy to look through. And honestly, that opening made it worse for them because then trophy was their only substantial position. They were trying to force it and they created a different and better angle for Snoopy to try and shut that down and actually secure a full kill.
Attackers need to locate.
We've talked about it throughout this entire map so far, but in some rounds, it just seems like everything is working and together. They are a well-oiled machine, and then in others, for both of these teams, it seems that the Lego pieces aren't fitting together at all.
Did you just make a Lego reference just because of me? Is that what you did just now?
Well, it wasn't just because of you, but I know you like Legos. I thought you would appreciate it.
I do appreciate it. I'm just pointing it out that, hey, I am the one with Legos, and that you just made a Lego reference. I mean, what do you want me to do here, man?
I don't know, I was thinking about it. I was like, what's a good analogy here? Legos. Sometimes Legos just like click together, and other times Legos are just the most broken thing in your life. Emblematic to that is we're gonna re-piece together this match, as it looks like a rehost is gonna be happening real quick. A forfeit victory, Sirius!
Forfeit
they
victory.
win!
They really didn't. We're gonna be going to a rehost, so unfortunately, everyone has left the lobby, and we'll just have to possibly take a quick little break to kind of take care of that. But otherwise, we'll get everyone back in. We'll be right back right after this break.
put you in the driver's seat. Don't gotta hurry in the name of love. When you ride with me, don't gotta worry when tomorrow comes. I'll put you in the driver's seat. Don't gotta hurry, no, 'cause we stay in control in the name of love.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back. After sorting out some issues, we'll have the match back to you, but more importantly, after a philosophical discussion of Legos and the fact that Sirius is doing our round history in MS Paint, there is some staggering information that we must discuss.
It's well, first of all, that's just not true. I'm not doing it on MS Paint. You think I'm that crazy to do it live on broadcast with a mouse? I mean, I could barely draw in first place, but with a mouse, that's just crazy. What do you, like, what?
Don't let him lie to you. Don't let him lie to you. Don't
No,
do
no,
it.
I don't let him lie to you. He's the one who's just yapping right now. This certifiable yapper over here. I mean, good grief.
Nonetheless, to get the Yap Sesh back on track, 4-5 in our match so far between Bros Without Hose and Wasted Talent, and it has been one of the matches of all time so far.
Yeah, I mean, and it's been so far for the last few rounds, it's been a very aggressive showcase for Bros Without Hose. And Wasted Talent, kind of like what we saw last time for them, is just kind of struggling on the attack for both of these teams. They just haven't been able to really figure out the exact kind of thing they can consistently win on their attacking rounds, but defense so far has been phenomenal for both of these teams. They're just playing around their strengths and playing around little bits of aggression or bits of utility, depending on which team we're talking about realistically. But otherwise, playing around those strengths and then just excelling upon it outside of like a couple of rounds on their defenses. I mean, really, since the side switch, Bros Without Hose have been looking phenomenal, and then Wasted Talent just have been trying to ever so slowly get back into these rounds, but just hasn't really been able to find that success so far.
And we talked about it with defensive teams on a defender-sided map. Like, it makes full sense that this is what we're looking at so far. We've seen these flashes of brilliance from the attack a couple of times, but it seemingly is just like impossible to recreate back to back. I don't know if it's the site, if it's just the defense actually making mistakes, and that's what is affording them these ins. But it's so interesting that for both of these attacking halves, each team has struggled to find a foothold in their own unique regard.
Yeah, and it's just like in their own regard too on the defense, it's just they've been doing very different things. We saw Wasted Talent be a little bit more structured, play a little bit more around each other and their utility to get their rounds wins. But then Bros are just playing full on aggression, playing a little bit smarter in these last couple of rounds, playing together, but still not really relying upon their utility too much to win these rounds out. But otherwise, it's just kind of a different story for both of these teams. One team is just being more aggressive and winning. The other team is being a little bit more structured, but hasn't been able to do it on the attack. So, I mean, after this rehost, I would have to imagine that Bros, for the moment, are going to keep going upon this win streak, and then we'll have to see if we go to overtime, or if it's just going to be Bros winning it out straight on from here. But, I mean, we won't really know for certain, because this map is overall been really close. Overall, I'd have to say, outside of just like one or two rounds, it's been just kind of back and forth throughout the start, honestly.
And back and forth is nothing to expect. I hate making this point over of like, oh, it's Oregon, but it's a legitimate point. Oregon is so default in almost every regard that for teams with uniquely different playstyles like this, one leaning more toward that structured idea that you talked about, and the other trying to be more aggressive and open those gaps for themselves and try and find those early picks, it's so expected in particular that it would be a pretty even series so far. In some rounds, that structured ideology is going to win, you're going to throw a pick or two, and then the aggression is really good at disrupting the attack. However, for these attacks, something that I think BWH has actually been doing excellent in regards to is, or Wasted Talent it was rather, was constricting those defenders in sight. And it's been really good for them so far to try and make sure that they have the position that they want in the attack. It's just closing out that late round to allow that constricting method to fully work out.
Yeah, and that's been kind of the thing, because especially what we saw from that first round on the bomb site, basement bomb site, is that they really weren't able to control anything, and then when they did finally get some control, the roamer came in, completely stomped it in his tracks, and then they just lost everything. Came down to one player who made his best attempt, but really had nothing else to work with because, well, everyone is dead around. So going into this next round, they really need to figure out what they want to go for. Is it going to be a more heavy site direct hit? Or is it going to be actual established roam clear out those players like Mike W on the Solus, and then move their way to the bomb site? One caveat to that, though, is that it's going to take a very long time to do so, and as we've seen, they struggle with time immensely in these late round scenarios, so add to your point, they need to figure out what they want to do in the late round, but first of all, it's going to have to come down to what they do in the early round to determine how the late round goes.
And I don't hate the idea of them kind of just leaving Mike W be. You have the flank watch, you can focus on your sight hit because that flank is secured for yourself. So kind of letting him just do his own thing, as Rival did when they were on the defense, could prove actually useful in their attack in finding a gap and trying to just avoiding him as a whole. Going to be returning back to the basement site here for BWH. The Mura is on the board. I'm pretty sure she has been brought for the majority of these basement defenses, if not all of them, and Joe is going to narrowly escape the jaws of death. As wasted talent, we talked about time, but they're wasting no time on this roof stage area.
I tell you what, Roby desperately wanted that kill. I've never seen a Ying swing faster than that, aside from just tossing out those Candelas. He wanted that, but unfortunately, Joe's going to slip through his fingers, and like you said, they've already got so much control. Alex is starting out a lot, and getting Mike W, who's a big thorn in their side last time we were here, already starting out way better than they did in the previous Facebook campaign. Now they can open up that laundry hatch, get Snoopy out of the way, and then they really have Pillar all to themselves. BWH try and play a little bit further back, play around the actual bomb site itself, not really giving anything over to wasted talent.
I mean, just, wow, they look entirely different on this site so far. They do still have to contend with Snoopy, like you said, and with him being on the Warden, Roby's Candelas may not be as effective as they want, but it looks like they're just going to set up for the execute here. They really want this pillar position, and I think this Candelas are going to try and find the opening that they need. However, they haven't had much presence toward elbow at all, and having that smoke able to rotate back, and more importantly, hold this bunker cut off that Rival is looking for, could waste a little bit more time, but wasted talent is seemingly stalling out right now instead.
Being very sure that they're not giving up any aggressive picks for no reason, trying to play a utility and control they have so far. Flashbangs and Candelas are going to go out. They're going to try to go for this execute now, but things going their way for the moment. But still, 2v4 for the moment, and it's going to be securing that. Joe with the 1v4 potential. He's going to find one, find two, and going to quickly kill out one. As all wasted talent are going to find him, as they are very aware of his position.
Beautiful execute there. I thought they were stalling out. I thought, in my mind, I don't know why they just don't commit to the push there, but it showed a level of discomfort from BWH there of, oh, well, if this is their attack, where are they? What are they actually setting up for? I'm not sure what is happening here. And then that explosive 3-2-1 execute came out. Candelas, Rovi dropped, and Rear Siege was free as soon as they cleared Snoopy. And from that point on, simply waltzed through the site like it was there. An excellent, excellent round there from Wasted Talent.
I mean, yeah, it was a lot more nice and controlled overall. We really didn't do anything too out of the ordinary, other than just, all right, let's play a little bit closer to each other, play around our utility, and like I said, just left on every single player that is in our way. Every single player who got a kill on had to immediately deal with another one right behind them if they lost that initial gunfight. So Rose really needed to win some of those early engagements as soon as they dropped down on those hatches. But, I mean, what can you really do if a 5-man effort is just dropping right in your face and you just have no idea how to really handle that because there's so much utility being dumped and manpower behind it?
Attackers are moving out to
And that's where the first pick of Mike W actually kind of comes to fruition there of how important that actually was. In previous, Mike W has been that late round security for BWH in the form of like, oh, well, they have all this control, I'm now able to swing out showers and find two as they're walking down white, so on and so forth. But taking him out early was so critical, as now they had control of the entire floor they were on and could focus all of their efforts toward the objective itself. Different take here for Wasted Talent, as Rovi is going to be all the way down the freezer stairs already, and the mirror window being gone should have him a direct sightline into the objective.
I'm not sure that entirely knows that it is far up. Actually, rival Ari at the very end of that, so he may actually be able to swing so far in. He's going to get the first player on the board, and that's a huge bit of control already established because now Bros don't have that upcut pressure on that laundry door.
I don't know if they rewrote the script here on the rehost, but Wasted Talent looks like a different team right now. They have had such decisive positioning in this early round. Rival getting that pick there, this opens up so much opportunity for them. Laundry hatch is going to be open. They're just going to do their due diligence in potentially opening up the rest of these hatches. Rival's prepped all the way up. Free fires out onto this other player in freezer. Doesn't spot him. Sloppy, though, does take out Alex. That is the Monty gone. And now, Snoopy takes up another pick in what was a great-looking position so far. It's just taken apart pick by pick. The Monty, alone in sight, picks up one with his pistol, but still, there's just so much he has to contend with, and being only stuck on that pistol leaves you without the firepower to do much, and Mike W is just going to prove that. What was greatness falls apart quickly.
And that was just kind of very sudden. I thought they had all the control they needed. They got the initial pick onto that laundry player, but then the freezer control just kind of fell apart. They couldn't get the Monty all the way in safely. Just things were not quite adding up for them to get those final little bits, especially getting Warden just kind of swinging out on that freezer player behind Rival. Getting that pick was just, that's so tough to see, because overall, I don't know how they managed to just kind of let him swing on out. Snoopy just kind of got away with murder there. The Capital bolts just missing the mark at the very crucial point of that round, because if they got him out of the way, that could have been a plan if they got rid of that mirror window. But alas, did not happen, and now Bros Without Hose are within one round of tying things back up.
And that kind of attributes to BWH's playstyle throughout this entire map, and that is they have not been scared to take fights that would evidently lead them back to finding the picks that they needed. We've seen them so aggressive throughout this entire map so far, relying on that roam, Mike W in particular being that main roamer that's been kind of holding it down and having that presence, but Snoopy even there in the objective, taking that ambitious swing, dodging through that utility, and trying to open up a pick and opportunity for yourself is just great work from BWH and what has slowed down Wasted Talent so far.
We're seeing Alex back onto the Amaro, who has had big impact on the operator on this round in particular. Otherwise, we're seeing a very similar play for them. They're just trying to get master control. Those are taking a ton of damage. I believe that was the trophy player as well. So now, they're just going to have to play a little bit safer. Fourth is probably going to have to heal Amaro up. He's done so already. And now, Rose playing a little bit similar to how they did their previous round attempt on this, but just playing very slowly, trying to let them take the control that they need, but not giving up on site directly.
This talent's worry here is certainly going to have to be Attic. We saw how that missed open pull completely shut down this trophy push, and they're going to open the main breach first this time. That is going to be unreinforced and leave the angle open for the Attic player. Zim starts things off, though. Pick onto Mike W, that is the roamer, but once again, that BWH aggression coming out. A swift trade is going to leave them fending for control once again on this trophy side, as they don't have the presence they had in Attic last time, though.
They don't have any of that pressure. They just have not really dealt with Snoopy. He's just still playing this long angle all the way back in Big Tower. Player who is just sitting on that highway area needs to play some pressure onto him. Get Snoopy out of the area so that way he can't hold this angle. That way it makes Trophy a safer angle to swing from. That way you can play from both Trophy and the breach, because that kind of just limited them last time. Just playing them one angle, but I mean the breach looks a little bit scuffed. I don't know if they can fully get through it.
I think they'll be able to squeeze through, but I don't think it'll be safe to at all, at least at the current rates. Quartz has just been playing this position to excellence, by the way. He's been here essentially every round, and I'm gonna bite my tongue. Caster Curse goes through. Alex takes him out on a very, very tight angle, but now this could actually be the gap that Wasted Talent needs to fully enter the objective here. Slothy completely shutting that idea down, though, as he's just gonna swing big window and take out Alex. Is Wasted Talent scrambling for any pressure. Joe sneaks up behind Rival, and BWH brings it back. Wasted Talent in a very wide spectrum over the majority of this round. Slothy with a third on the other side, and it's Zim all on his lonesome.
And just didn't deal with the bits of power positions that they needed to clear in the initial part of that round, because they were set up well, but then they just didn't deal with Attic. They didn't really deal with Kid's player, who's just sitting right there. Sure, yeah, you got Cords on a nice angle, but what's that really going to be doing if you're still letting them swing out? Dim's at least going to get one more, but Joe's going to finish that round off. And it's going to be overtime now, because overall, Wasted Talent, while you've been looking great in the early rounds, just cannot connect in the late execute.
They have such strong early positions, but they don't commit. We've seen it so... It's just a repeated story throughout this entire map so far of they'll find an early pick. They had control there, they had the player on big window, they had, of course, the trophy presence that they were expecting to have, but then you can't fully implement trophy because you forgot about Attic this time, seemingly. I don't know if they had a single player walk into the area of Attic that entire round.
No, they didn't.
And literally, if Alex simply fights that Attic player off and can somehow secure a rotate into there, that makes that take so much more heavy pressure against the defense of BWH and really puts them in a tight spot. There's not much they can do to work around that, because Wasted Talent, once again, great overall position, but you aren't pushing the pressure points that you need to against BWH.
10 seconds to go.
And it's going to be them on the attack, which has been the worst side so far in overtime. So Bros Without Hose starting off in the advantage seemingly as far as round history goes. Going to be going back down the basement bomb site. Just seeing them again kind of go with a very similar lineup, trying to play very aggressive and heavy roam presence, but without notably the Solus this time around. Mike W is instead opting to go for a cap can, making sure that Wasted Talent have to drone everything diligently and do not walk into doorways without checking them immediately.
That's a nice mix-up from him, especially considering how strong he's been on the roam and the swift moving presence he's had on the roam. I don't believe that they're going to be diligent to check a lot of the time, especially if they're chasing him down. Back down to the basement for them once more. There's a widespread attack from Wasted Talent once again, but I'm having the same fears we've continued to discuss throughout this match. While you may have a lot of overall map control, are you going to be able to commit in the late round? A missed drone as Slothy works up Laundry Stairs. Epic's not even looking at him to start things off for BWH.
And the worst part is, Slothy did initially fall back. He felt the pressure coming in from lobby, but just realized, hey, I haven't felt anything in a little bit. Let me just kind of walk my way back up, and sure enough, gets a pick on Epic. That's going to be the Abana off the board, and actually, that's the only hard breach actually up for Wasted Talent, so they can't open up anything if he didn't do so before. So now, they're going to have to force their way down these stairs and hopefully get around these mirror windows, which have been proving to be a big problem for both the attacks.
Or it's going to start an even bigger problem. That is now losing Roby, your presence on the backstairs, and your solution to those mirror windows taken out. You still have the Twitch on the board, but as you progress later in this round, there's not much you can do. Zim falls next. A quick trade, though, from Alex upstairs isn't going to do much, as he is stuck in a 1v4, and a little bit of a love tap onto Joe, keeping the aim warm. Quartz, I respect it.
Why do that to Joe? Friend of the broadcast, Joe doesn't deserve that. That's just mean, man. Come on.
Free my mans.
free him. Free my mans. Oh no, Alex is just in a terrible spot right now, just due to the fact that everything is completely falling apart. I don't think he has a single Twitch drone in pocket, so he's just gonna be walking straight head on to this mirror window with two players fully ready to swing. So I mean, might as well just call the round over right now, because I mean, tactical timeout, be damned. Who called it earlier? Do you remember? I'm pretty sure it's Bros who called their initial timeout.
I think it was BWH, yeah.
Yeah, I want to say it was Bros, so they're essentially taking a pseudo timeout for Wasted Talent. We'll see if that progresses into an actual timeout. I would honestly say yes, you probably should figure out what you need to do for the next round and then figure out the next attack. But right now, he's just going to be walking straight on to his death, and Slothy is going to be starting us off with the initial kill and ending us off with the last kill.
apologize if I accidentally just broke anyone's eardrums. I just dropped something on my desk, so I love all of you, but I don't know if I just damaged your ears beyond repairability. But I would 100% agree. It's time to really take a look at what we need here. I don't hate that idea of a pseudo timeouts, but moreover, if you're Alex, what do you even do, right? There is just no ground for you to play off of and no ground to control. So we start shifting into overtime here. BWH picked up one, and now they're on match point. However, for wasted talent, they're back on the defense. Both of these teams very obviously much more comfortable on this defensive side, so I could very easily imagine them, especially on one of their strongest sites, this basement site, taking this back into a 7-7 tied game.
And I'm just noticing something here. Let me just go back through my notes of everything. So, pretty sure Wasted Talent had brought a warden almost every single basement bomb site they attempted. And notably now, there is no warden. So if Bros Without Hosts actually switch over to the game, that's going to be a big crucial missed opportunity for Wasted Talent on their really crucial need to win the defensive bomb site. But I don't think they actually, no, there's no EMP grenades on the same side. So Epic's going to be locking down these hatches, and there's really nothing that Bros can actually do about this.
But wait, no EMPs, and you didn't. So they don't have the Twitch, they don't have the EMPs, and they didn't up to bring the game?
Yes. I know, I'm confused too. It doesn't even matter.
It doesn't even matter, apparently, yeah. Quartz is just gonna walk right in, finds the first pick onto Rival. This is an interesting round that's happening. A complete change of pace from what I expected. BWH fully leaning into their more aggressive tendencies now, as they fully go to look to clear this roam in a very nice starting pick. Zim is stranded in no man's land. That's 2 for Quartz. He simply can't be stopped this round. He is walking through this defense at every turn.
Alright, I'm just going to completely ignore all the utility in the round. I'm just going to focus on pure guns and guns. So, Quartz is just on fire at the moment. Currently 5-3 after the rehost, as well as Slothy, who's also doing very well at the moment. So, overall, really great gunners showing up for Bros in the very crucial round that they need to win if they want to win this 8-6 right now. So, overall, Wasted Talent haven't really been playing around their utility. We talked about it before, where they play around their utility, play around coordination, and then try to win the rounds out from there. But right now, they're trying to meet the aggression, trying to meet the guns, and Rovi may be able to get one. He is! Joe's completely unsuspecting of that, and Rovi actually has a huge power position just locking down these back tower stairs for the time being. So he can waste a lot more time. Oh, that was so dangerous.
Oh, my heart. My heart. Why, Roby? There's a ladder. Or do you do the bar thing where you drop it in the bar? Mike W is going to be sitting here waiting for him. I think he is actually going to rotate all the way through Attic, though. Still, they do have a pick back, but it's very, very sketchy here for Wasted Talent nonetheless. Epic is going to make it big, though, but Mike W has just walked down the rear stairs and is just going to pick up one, spots out Tamira. He's scrambling in this close range gunfight, hasn't quite been able to connect the shots. Alex is going to be able to secure him. Wasted Talent, while you were down at the start, it seems you brought it back. Rovi, waiting for this player on the laundry stairs. He's going to lurk all the way through Attic, down main. Slothy is going to hear him, though, and that's a nice pre-fire, but not what you want if you're Wasted Talent. Now 1v2 for Alex. He's going to have to try and isolate these 1v1s. That is his only hope. Playing around these mirror windows, trying to isolate the ones. Should hear both of them lurking down Freezer. Walk right into his crosshair. Pre-fire comes out. Slothy gives him the first one. Almost catches the head of Quartz on the second. Nitro goes out. Quartz picks it out of the air, and he's fully flashed.
10 seconds.
Resetting the gunfight, though. Falling back to this rotate hole. It's just peak after peak. Angle after angle. All you have to do is run, Alex. All you have to do is live. Quartz should know where you're at, though, and it's not gonna connect. BWH to close it out.
Ugh. In a nail-biting fashion, too, on top of that, BWH win the first map at Oregon, 8-6, and just completely ignoring all the utility of the defense, just didn't even care. Just let Quartz do all the fragging and just handle it from there. I mean, the man is on fire right now, ended it off 6-3, so I'll have to see what the stats are after the entire thing is calculated up, but I mean, like, talk about a way to end that map off and going into Nighthaven Labs.
That might have been the most buffoonery round in the entire match so far. And it wasn't even, and I don't even think buffoonery is the right word. It was just BWH with completely unstoppable aggression out of nowhere. Quartz walked in and picked up 2. Zim was in Z, I'm not sure what he was really doing there, though, to be honest. He lost his secondary roamer. He knew that he was being surrounded, and he had the opportunity to rotate down Freezer, and he didn't. Granted, Wasted Talent did almost bring it back. It was the Goyo. I can't remember who it was for whatever
Rovi.
reason. Rovi at the time. Playing in that tower position, finding a unique little rotate, and more importantly, picking up a couple of picks. That was crucial in attempting to bring that round back, but giving up that final pick to Slathi and going for more later into that round, instead of just coming back and supporting your Mira, it was what it may have seemed like a small mistake, evidently led to you losing that round.
Yeah, just small things, right? I mean, just Rovi trying to be the one player who's actually establishing a lot of that pressure, and he was doing a phenomenal job of it. Really helped bring that round back to at least a realm of possibility, but still could not finish it all off, and ultimately just kind of came down to a 1v1 that was super close, but cannot get it done for the Mira. So that's going to be it for map number 1. So Bros Without Hose starting us off with a map 1 lead.
Super close map 1, though, especially for it being Oregon. That can kind of be expected. Moving on to Nighthaven, though, this is Bros Without Hose map pick, like we talked about, and it's a map pick that Wasted Talent doesn't particularly like either. So you might have predicted at the very start BWH might be able to run away with this series if they can catch fire on Nighthaven.
I think I had that flipped. I think it was Wasted Talents map pick, and then if they won that first map, it's going to be a sweep, but I could be wrong. I can't really remember. It's been a while. That was a very long map, but regardless of that, Bros Without Hose in the map 1 lead, so we'll take a quick break, and we'll see if they can win this off 2-0 fashion. Welcome back to map 2, which is Wasted Talent's map pick, Swan, not Bros Without Hose, so it's completely wrong. I don't know what you were talking about before, but Bros Without Hose won map number 1, which was their map pick, 8-6 fashion, so it's a very close one overall, but managing to win a defense and attack round in sequence got them that map 1 win. Going on to Nighthaven Labs, which notoriously throughout quals anyway, they hated that map, so I'm very curious to see if this is one where Wasted Talent bring it back, get us to map number 3, or if, you know, come up, or Bros Without Hose, I almost called them come up, but just they continue their bit of aggression and then really keep the Wasted Talent out of the map overall.
And I think that is what it's going to come down to. I mean, as you said, notoriously kind of not very comfortable on this map. So being at Wasted Talent's map pick, if they can resolve some of the issues in conjunction with them being a little bit more potentially comfortable than BWH is on this map, then they could certainly run away with this and kind of find the gap in BWH's super aggressive stance so far.
Well, because I mean, we've noticed that BWH has shown some gaps and shown potential to kind of leave things open for Wasted Talent to kind of take advantage of. Kind of saw that a little bit in that last round where Rovi kind of went for a huge flank, exposed kind of just overall kind of where positioning of Bros at the very end of that round. Got to at least a 2v2 and made it a possibility for his team, but ultimately came down to just raw gunfights, winning that round out. But I mean, just kind of things of like, Bros are making mistakes. They just kind of been taking more advantage of the mistakes of Wasted Talent, and interesting map ban phase so far. Dokubi and Monty. I haven't normally seen a Monty ban on this map, but I mean, you know, I don't hate it. It's been very annoying, but it hasn't had that much of an effect, at least for one of these teams. I forget which one it was.
I think both of them tried it, but it makes sense. The Monty and the Mira both make sense, particularly for that reason of the Monty, just so you don't have to worry about it. In all honesty, I don't think either of these teams liked it being on the board. Even if it wasn't implemented to its fullest extent, it was still certainly an issue for them. And then the Mira was a completely different story. She had so much effectiveness in every single round she was played, and there was direct efforts to try and dismantle her, and I think when those efforts failed, the round was as good as a loss pretty much as soon as she was permitted to stay on the board. And then Fenrir, once again, one of these power defenders that usually gets taken off the board and leaves a couple of power defenders like the Solus that Quartz is now bringing, as well as a potential Azami pick later in this map that I wouldn't be surprised to see at all, given its Nighthaven.
I mean, on the other end of things too, Ying is still up. The biggest factor of the attacking wins was still left up seemingly on this map. I mean, Joe is on Warden, and he kind of went Nuki last map, especially on the Warden that time.
Nuki?
So, yeah, Nuki. I mean, I've not heard that term before. I've certainly heard it. I mean, whatever, man. You're younger than me. You should know these things.
What is Nuki though? Like not nuclear?
Okay, yeah, it's like a short-term version of that. Come on, man.
Okay.
Activating camera.
I don't even know my point anymore. I'm just gonna throw it back to you, man. I don't even know what I was talking about.
Ready the top four to start things off, though. Just to make our audience aware, we have a little bit of a change on the Wasted Talent roster. Explicit's going to be in place of Zim for this map, so we'll see how that potentially shakes things up. And I don't even remember what your point was either, I'm going to be honest, but it was a good point. So, good points here. It's good job.
Yeah, thanks. I'm sure there's something about the Ying being no left.
Yes,
it's not going to be a factor in this round because no one brought it. But still, getting that early control, making sure that Rafters is going to be uncontainable for Joe to stay here for very much longer, or is this going to be a big factor, and that is going to be initially shot out, so Rovi not having a big impact on Joe's position just yet. He does have to be careful of Snoopy in the middle of Aqua, but right now, Bros Without Hose trying to just maintain a little bit of pressure from the positions they do have, but Wasted Talent trying to constrict it at the time being.
They are going to have that IT open, with the IT wall open within the first minute here. And Wasted Talent's looking for something right now at all. To be honest, they haven't found much. And Slocky's actually going to find Explicit. Connector wall open as well. Alex trying to make short work of the defenders remaining on that side. But Quartz and Mike are going to quickly respond instead. Now, Wasted Talent, once again, seemingly a very widespread effort across this map that was punished by the aggression of BWH.
And these are just such powerful positions, so you can
Oh my
really
God.
just kind of let people take control of what they want. I mean, yeah, Wasted Talent did get a lot of these positions open, but if your entire attack collapses upon it, it's not really much you can do. Epic has at least made it a possible round, and now it's a 1v2. You can single these last two players out because one's towards Aqua and one's towards that connector area, so it's certainly still a possible round, but he needs to play this smart. Get that player in Aqua first because he's the one who wants to do the most.
Gonna come down to isolating these 1v1s, and he's gonna have to go for the kills. Either way, he's running to a fight if he goes to get the fuser. Doesn't quite find the pre-fire into Mike W, though, as BWH, once again, pretty quick work of the attack so far of Wasted Talent. They had connector wall open, you had IT wall open, but misallocation of resources, something we saw last map. They had all of these power positions, but you have to commit to one. You can't have a player all the way outside in Rafter, and if he is, then commit to the push of IT because you have that presence.
Yeah, because that's the biggest thing in that round for me, is that they tried to go for the typical standard of, okay, let's surround the entire bomb site, constrict them down to bare essentials, right? But they did it a little bit out of order. They didn't take care of Raptors first, they didn't take care of Aqua. It was just kind of all out of synergy with what the overall ideal way to attack that map, that bomb site rather, is. They just needed to really get Joe out of Rafters, make sure they can take that, put a player there and hold it for the rest of the round, then possibly move someone over to Aqua, take care of that player Snoopy, and then constrict your way on in, because you already have IT wall open in. That step was easy. That wasn't really contested whatsoever, but just the next step wasn't really capitalized upon, and it really hurt them at the end.
And good on BWH, I want to note here, kind of disrupting the attack. This is something I like to touch on in a lot of matches like this, where you have a more methodical team against a team willing to, I'm going to call it, take a little bit more risks in how they're playing their defensive half. But being able to kind of put that heavy pressure on areas that they aren't expecting and kind of swing it in their own regard really forces Wasted Talent outside of their comfort zone of these stock standard and methodical takes. Now, they're going to continue to have that standard and more typical take that we see on the basement site here. Animus Wall is going to be opened up first, and Animus is a position that is something that the defense kind of forgets about the power of a lot of times.
We're already trying to apply a lot of pressure over towards the Animus walls. He's just playing so aggressive up on here. Does he actually know that there's a player behind these boxes? Just missed out on the initial engagement. Epic now knows that someone was there. Don't know if he actually spotted him or just heard the audio, but I mean, I'd be careful there. But actually, Rival's got the first one on to spot the end of the turn.
Rival has to be careful here, though. Nobody set up his trade if he loses this fight on these back exosuit stairs, rather. Rovi gonna be finding a pick for BWH onto his own teammate. That is not something he wanted right now, but quickly makes up for himself as he shoots Joe through the hatch and then catches the other player jumping over the rafter. A cacophony of kills there coming out from the Buck. Snoopy trying to trade it back on site. He's caught out though, as Epic is going to make his position known in the objective. He's not quite sure where he's getting shot from. Mike W ending for himself. Free Fire isn't going to connect for him. Still has to find that diffuser. A nice one, and he flick onto Rovi. Spots out the Ash. Not quite able to find the headshot. He's left on minimal HP, but a swing from Rival, and Mike W brings it back.
Alright, what was that round? Because it was a great initial direct take by Wasted Talent, just taking bare essentials, just kind of getting the Animus wall open, getting tank wall open as well, and then just trying to hit site direct. Sure, yeah, put a little bit of pressure over towards Garage, let Rival do his own, Rovi do his own thing up top, making up for his TK, but I don't want to, it definitely didn't come down to that TK, but just rather Epic kind of looking a little lost and confused in the middle of the site, just kind of going, all right, I don't know where I'm getting shot from, and just kind of Mike W is just kind of left to his own devices and just kind of goes huge. I don't know how that round slips by them. They were in such good control. 4v2, and it somehow comes down to just Mike W. I mean, just being positioned well. I don't know what happened. This overall baffling round in what was otherwise a great take from Wasted Talent.
The flood at the end there just left them so confused, and the flood into sight turned into a chaotic push that I think was probably exasperated even more by the team kill, followed by 2 picks that should really not have happened. I don't know why they opted to vault over the rafter there, but it really left them kind of starstruck of what actually happened in the mid-game of that round, and they rushed that execute, leaving Mike to be able to kind of work around it and find some pretty unique picks. Tertiary site though now for BWH as they head to storage. So I'm looking to see if they're going to go for a more vertical peek here like a lot of teams do, which I would expect considering Wasted Talent's methodical playstyle, or if they're going to read into this pretty extended role of BWH and go for a direct.
I mean, they can't really safely go for a direct tape because there's poles down below. Head up high, someone up top. Snoopy's gonna get into the initial engagement. Alex on 1 HP though, can't confirm the down just yet, but right now that's already a lot of control established over towards Raptors, over towards IT. Now all this roam present is completely crumbling. Wasted Talent are just going explosive right now.
Slothy's looking to bring it back. He only finds one, and what in the world just happened for BWH? Where did they all go? I'm so confused. Wasted Talent. That, I'm gonna be honest, that looked more of like a ranked round than a match of competitive play, serious.
Yeah, that looked like one of our rounds that we just kind of go through. I mean, like,
I'm pretty sure we've played that before.
we have played that exact kind of style of just like, okay, all right, we spot a gap, hit it as hard as we can, just send everyone at it. I don't even care. I mean, I don't know what really came down to. I mean, sure, yeah, Snoopy just kind of got a little bit confused on where the pressure was initially coming from. Was it IT wall? Was it rafters? It looked at the wrong direction and got down, but then every single roamer just completely fell apart. I don't know what happened for BWH in that round. It just completely crumbled like a cookie. Just like everyone's dead, the round goes to Wasted Talent, and I just blink and I missed it. I don't even know exactly what happened. I'm pretty sure our observer didn't even know what happened. It was just kind of chaotic from the very start.
I think it was the change of pace that really threw BWH so far, because throughout all of last map, and the few rounds we've played into this map, Wasted Talent's not necessarily been slow, but they've taken their time when it comes to gaining like positional control over key areas. Specifically on that round where they played near that IT area, that IT wall and rafters took them quite a while to get to. And Alex was just in there. He wasted no time getting in there, so I think BWH just really was caught off guard by that and wasn't prepared to take those early gunfights. Back upstairs now for themselves though, and Wasted Talent's looking for a similar strategy.
Definitely going for a very similar take to how they did last time. I would imagine they're going to be going about it a little bit more decisively instead of just kind of going a little bit half work and half baked kind of idea of just, okay, we've got walls open, let's just hit it. Now next step is going to be clearing up that Raptors position, because Joe, you already saw how much of a problem he was the last time we were here of just walking down Raptors, and on the other end, Snoopy walking down Aqua as well. So really need to make sure that they get Joe out of position, and it does seem that Roby's actually already taken that control, so that's Raptors out of the way now.
I really like this from Wasted Talent, like a complete change of pace to them. Now they have Rafters and IT, and this is where you can start using your widespread pressure. You already have the foothold in IT and Rafters now. With a rotate core connector, even just a couple of players, or like you mentioned previous to taking that space Aqua, it opens up a huge gap across the entire site for the defense.
I do think Roby's actually rotating Oracle and applying that pressure from the other side. Now that Slothy just swings wide into the middle of IT, what are you doing there? Roby capitalized upon another one in Snoopy. That's Aqua into their control as well. On top of that, it's going to be go time for Wasted Talent, but they need to be careful just not walking through these crossfires.
And they're really going to have to be very careful to not walk into the crossfires here, because they have plenty of control still. And you have time left on the clock. 60 seconds. Case is going to start going down. Joe picks up 100 for himself. Explicit should get this diffuser down with no issue. And now Mike W and Quartz are going to be forced to retake. Still 3 stims on Quartz. They can play a little bit more aggressive here, but not too much. Caught in the crossfire. Rival's going to take him out. And Mike W rotates all the way around. Finds the trade onto Rival, but being the last man up, it goes in favor of Wasted Talent.
I mean, just went about it the way opposite way of how they handled it round number 1, right? They actually took care of the power positions that were causing them so many issues in that previous attempt at it, and they excelled at it. Obviously, a little bit helped by just some wide overcommits by Slothy at the very beginning of that round. I'm not sure what he was thinking in doing that, because you gotta know that there's players Raptors and IT, or at least somewhere nearby, right? That's just such an aggressive swing, and there's not really much for it. Sure, maybe you go 1-for-1, but with the amount of control wasted talent have, I'd rather you just sit back closer to the bomb site, play towards connector, or just kind of in that electrical room, play around your teammates and make sure you have that control when the actual execute happens, because otherwise you're down 2 people and wasted talent could just waltz their way on in and get that plant down.
I'm left a little confounded too. I think that even though wasted talent had so much control, that was a very, very good change of pace to how we saw them take that fight previously. They really shifted their focus toward that area of top garage, and instead of going for this more widespread attack that we've seen them have, they let, I believe it was Rival on the Ash, go Aqua, or, oh, not Aqua, I'm not quite sure, he went somewhere else, and that let that gap open up, and they could focus the majority of the utility on the main objective. BWH looking to run it back, and hopefully going to be playing a little bit more in their comfort zone, as they seemed kind of out of focus last round.
How did Epic get down here?
Did he fall off of a roof into a ladder?
Did he vault over and fall into that hole?
Can you even? Is that a thing?
I don't know. Honestly, I have no idea. That's a new one. If you're needing a quick way to die, if you're just kind of practicing reinforcements, that's a good thing to know, I guess, if that actually did happen. So, Bandit Trick is going to come out, but he's got the wrong wall. Joe is going to miss out on that opportunity, I think, and that is going to be going towards Explicit being the first kill, but I don't know. He's tucked close in the corner.
There's no way Joe gets misdrawn there. Picks up 1 on the swing, and honestly, for the situation he's in, that is more than enough. Snoopy going to make sure it's worth his while, too, as the player that traded him out is going to be found by him on his way over to the connector side of the map. And Roby and Rival now stuck Rafter. Diffuser down outside the breach, and not a lot of presence to work with other than that. A good swing from Courtson, neither of them can find it as he wastes no time picking this round up for BWH.
I mean, just good positioning and just a little bit of lucky, just kind of overall, I didn't die to a thermite charge blowing up next to me. Gave wasted Rose Without Hose just a beautiful round win there, because otherwise that was just gonna be so difficult for them to just really do anything, because honestly I thought after that wall got open Joe was gonna immediately die, he was gonna be impactless in that, but then things just kind of went their way of Bros one by one. I mean, overall, I don't know how just Wasted Talent go about it systematically, take care of things one step at a time in the previous round, and then just let Joe sit in a corner after you immediately breach your ball and just let him go unnoticed. I don't know how that happens from round to round, but I digress. Going back down to Tank and Animus, just overall, this has been a very wild and crazy game of Nighthaven that I'm sure I'm not disappointed by, but now Bros actually are playing a little bit more around their utility and vaulted out, which is something I wanted to mention last round, but didn't get a chance to because of how fast it went.
5 seconds left. Attackers have discovered the
Yeah,
location
actually
of the
have
bomb.
these footholds open on the breach that we're seeing, and this is what we talked about by leaving the Azami on the board, particularly for this map. There's a lot of these half boxes or half walls, desks everywhere on this map that allows you to create these unique angles, and more importantly, make these footholds and main breach an absolute nightmare to deal with if you are an attacker, and it looks like that's what they're going to be going for again. However, they are going to take one of those ace charges off the board, and that's going to be a good start for them in slowing down Wasted Talent here.
Bad catch, and you let it get tricked by the Kai Claw. I'm so disappointed. Anyway, they do at least get Animus Wall partially open, but considering they wasted that first Selma charge initially that got tricked by the wall, that means the tank wall is actually a little bit harder to get, or cargo wall as well. On top of that, because you're already being guarded by Snoopy on the Azami, Mike W is going to start us off hot with kill on Roby. That's going to be Thatcher out of the way, and he just gets another one spraying through the wall after he gets open. And now Epic has to clean things up, but just
What in
things
the
are not
world?
working. They're just feeding Mike W right now.
This is Mike's world and we're just living in it. 3 picks there is ridiculous. They're just, you said it, feeding him 1v1s. I'm not sure why they didn't just set up a crossfire there and swing together, because they easily could have. But Mike for 3 is literally the best outcome of that roam that they could have possibly expected from him. Great work there, and now you're left so deep in the zone of chaos and stalled out, and you've lost not only your ability to open the wall, you lost your hard reach chance to open those hatches, and you're left fighting down these stairways. That's not gonna work out because Quartz is ready for you.
I mean, just already fumbling in terms of utility, and then just fumbling on clearing out the most important fraggers you could have possibly taken care of. Mike W is now 5-3 after round 6, and I mean, he's just been red hot so far. Quartz is just gonna be even hotter right now at the moment because he's gonna finish that off. I mean, right now, Bros Without Hose are just looking so confident and so capable in their gunfights that Wasted Talent, yeah, sure, you got 2 rounds after you looked like you looked more composed, a little bit more synergized. Just 2 big rounds after looking so good? That's a big sign for me that it's just like, okay, maybe the mental's not all there. They just really need to settle things down again because they showed us what they can do if they settle things down.
Attackers need to locate and defuse bombs.
And I want to clarify really quick, I think you misread. Mike W is not 5-3. Mike W is 10-3.
I thought I said
serious.
10. Maybe I said 5.
No, you said all good.
10.
Nonetheless, great to highlight it again because, oh my word, individual performance from BWH so far has been really the backbone of their defense. They've had great positioning, but when Wasted Talent is permitted to kind of live in their comfort zone, which is the strategical, methodical, over-the-map, pinpoint, and then shift to pinpoint takes, they struggle a little bit to hold on to their objectives on their defensive half. But Quartz and Mike W, 8-3 and 10-3 respectively, Mike picking up 3 there is absolutely criminal. And now he's on the blitz, very obviously wanting more. A confidence booster for the entirety of BWH, and Wasted Talent, as they now play upstairs in this IT room, are going to have to get a rein on it.
Oh, and Roby starting us off with a on kill, I would think, onto Slothy, so it's going to be cash off board. Immediately traded back, though, so ultimately, no harm, no foul, so that's not going to let them bandit trick walls later on. Sure, it's tough to lose Slothy, but I mean, you have bits of utility everywhere else, and I would imagine that Bros aren't really concerned about utility. They just want to get Mike and get this wall open and let him rush and get a lot of pressure up in the faces of Wasted Talent now that they kind of got their initial kill.
And Wasted Talent still has no clue that Mike W is on the board as Blitz. That is going to be crucial in this late round to really throwing it back in the face of Wasted Talent of, if you're struggling to get in, once you get a foothold, it's going to be safe and clear. Mike W starts things off for himself. Good pick in sight, and it's 2 for him now. The flashbang is coming through. Alex shifting his way back towards the rapid area, trying to find any semblance of sight control, and Mike just can't be stopped. I say that though, but Rival is his kryptonite. Quartz takes out Alex, but now Rival 25 HP left on site. The diffuser should go down pretty easily. Good rotate from Rival. Wants to isolate these 1v1s. Here's the diffuser going down, and this is an excellent crossfire all the way deep in garage and then as well as on site. But Quartz is going to find him first, and Mike W once again opening the gap to allow that diffuser to go down in sight.
I mean, I kind of talked about it. It's just as soon as they find that opening, Mike W is just going to run on in, get a huge opening, just making sure to secure that space and control, clear out that gap, and make sure it's even more in the control of Bros. Wasted Talent had no way of accurately dealing with it. Sure, maybe, yeah, Rovi, if he stayed alive, could have denied that wall a little bit. But they're playing a Maverick. There's no actual, like, wall opening person outside of him. So that's just kind of a ruse by Bros in the first place. So just making sure that you give Mike the resources he needs, and he's going to excel on it, getting 2 big rounds, getting into the middle of the bomb site, and clearing out all the space over towards that, I believe, command site is the actual room called.
Command site. I know Night. Yes. Nonetheless, though, it's for Wasted Talent, it's becoming essentially the shutdown Mike and Quartz game. That's this entire map so far of kill the raid boss, and we have a chance of pulling this
5
round
seconds
back.
remaining.
Because I think their strategy, they've had great strategy. They always have. We talked about this so much. They're so strategically sound, but BWH simply does not care. They just don't. They are fighting, and they're ensuring that they are playing their game and making sure that the pace of this match is set by themselves and themselves only. And for Wasted Talent, as soon as that piece falls out of position for them, their entire strategy seemingly goes to the wayside as they're left in a state of confusion.
And just overall, they seem to be playing catch up at the moment. Just outside of those 2 rounds where it seemed like, okay, we know what we're doing. We know how to deal with this pressure that's being established by Bros. But since then, just overall, Bros Without Hose, like you mentioned, are establishing the momentum, establishing the pace of the round, and it's been fast-paced. Wasted Talent have really been trying to do their best and trying to keep up with the guns that are on Bros. But overall, just have not been able to do it nearly as well. So many of their players right now are below negative or just sitting right above it. And right now, they need to find something to get them into a secure position and win these next couple of rounds out. Because, I mean, the way this is going, this could be a 6-point lead for Bros.
Swapping mags.
Attackers have dropped the bomb
Very similar
diffuser.
take from BWH again. They are going to fully open that IT breach this time. Rovi starts things off with one of the raid bosses down. You've killed one of the Dark Horses. Quartz is off the board. Now they really want to find Mike W. And more importantly, they seemingly stranded the IT breach as a whole. Alex takes out Slothy. Mike W is going to be there for the trade, though. And now it's a 3v4 situation as they start shifting their way back towards this connector area. And I like that Buck has rotated back towards this IT position as well to try and play a potentially a late round cutoff here.
Pillar is completely under control right now. There's nobody here for Wasted Talent. Mike just somehow gets a tap onto Epic's head, so they need to clear out this last player over towards IT, but it does not even gonna matter. Rival and Explicit are gonna clean things up, leaving Mike W, the raid boss, or BWH on lock. So now they finally cleaned him up after a nice trade out for them. Wasted Talent needed that round win to keep themselves into a possibility of tying things back up.
Playing a little bit more reserved. I'm gonna be real serious. I can't even put my finger on what they did differently that round, or if BWH was actually the players changing up their own style.
I'm not even sure either, because it was just like, okay, Bros, we're still being as aggressive as ever. They're trying to take these swings, they're trying to take those fights. Just didn't really work out for them, and I think it was just a matter of Roby was also positioning himself very much more aggressive than he was previously. We've already seen him try to do that a little bit, but that time he actually did that phenomenally. And on top of that, I want to say it was Alex just sitting in the middle of the connector room, getting that first pick, and then just disrupting that attack coming in from that connector side, going towards leading. So Bros really kind of didn't have their secured pathway into the bomb site, and then just things collapsed as soon as they walked in doorways. They were quartered in, things had to be established through crossfires for Wasted Talent, and they just held it.
5
Bros
seconds remaining.
could not disrupt that entire attack because they tried to play guns up, but didn't deal with any of the utility or the positions by Wasted Talent.
Nonetheless, as we start shifting into round 9 here, back down to the basement, or they've gone basement so far. Wasted Talent, right? I thought they
no,
opened.
It's two, for Wasted Talent, it's been 2 rounds in a row for Command. This is their first attempt on this. We have seen Tank and it's a plot, or Tank and Cargo, I want to say.
Oh, that's okay. That's what I'm mistaking it for. So, first round on the basement for them here. Breaches are going to start to be opened by BWH, and more importantly, they don't have nearly as extended roam game in terms of man count as BWH did. They do have Rovi playing with himself up here, but he has the Grim Reaper Swift on his tail, but Mike W is just going to miss it. And for Rovi, that is potentially the best pick you could have found.
I mean, I don't know if Rovi actually spotted Mike W out, because he had the Inox tracker on the entire round, so he could have been possibly spotting him out almost as soon as he walked into Aqua. Don't know for certain, but Slothy does get the eventual trade onto Rovi, so that is a good bit of control. He did lose the first player. That was your initial roam clear, but most important utility is still up on the board. Bravas can still hack a lot of these cameras, hack a lot of these things out of the way, and really force everyone back. for Wasted Talent back onto the bomb site and then really play around, picking certain players off, getting them into poor positions that they can't deny a plant.
Wonderful start to try and bring back the man count in favor of the defense. Epic. The great Nitro Cell, and we're just outside of a minute 15 now. Rockstar for 2, Explicit for another, and now it's Joe. Picks up one for himself and will have the diffuser in hand, but the majority of these fights have actually been off the objective itself, so Joe is actually going to step foot into the objective for the first time. I don't think he knows. Smoke is in the corner, lying in wake, and he is not aware in the slightest. Great work there from Wasted Talent, as they are seemingly finding the solution to the problem that BWH has posed them with.
And I mean, overall, they're playing a lot more fast-paced, a lot more aggressive than we've seen. It's like they're doing a lot better of actually matching the pace of Bros so far in these last couple of rounds. Rovi has been a big proponent of that because he's gotten actually the last 3 opening picks so far for Wasted Talent. So right now, he is the guy to kill first things first for Bros Without Hose, because if he gets the first kill, it's almost entirely just kind of throwing apart the entire attacking setup for Bros, because they can't kill him immediately, and then just things get thrown for a loop. Alright, we're struggling to clear out these last few roamers, trying to clear out these last bits of utility, and then we just walk right into what Wasted Talent want us to do. So right now, Bros don't really need to change much. They just need to make sure that they get the information, get the kill onto Rovi, and then move on to the rest of it, because so far it's like they've been trying to skip steps. Didn't kill Rovi in that last round, and it really just kind of hurt overall, because that's a big part of their roam clear of losing Mike W on the Jack.
Attackers are heading out.
Coming down to kitchen and dining, though, this site, notoriously difficult hold for the defense. There's just so many issues with this objective and the way it's fundamentally set up and positioned in the map that makes it so hard for them to hold. You have that external window, you have so much vertical play that can be instantiated on you, and it seems Wasted Talent is reading into that. They're shifting more and more players upstairs to try and hold that. So it's really going to be up to this vertical clearing. Look at this ridiculous angle, by the way. If he got a kill off that, I would have lost my mind. That is a ridiculous peak.
Oh, Quartz is lucky to be alive. That sandpaper shield is going to keep him alive for just the time being. Still trying to take this aggressive gunfight, and he's actually swinging out super wide. Rival lucky to not have taken a single bit of damage. In the response, though, Mike W is on very minimal HP. He needs to be careful in his next engagement, because there's still players trying to be aggressive over towards BD and over towards Connector.
Doing a great job at pulling the attention away here. Joe is going to start sparking off that other side of the map that we saw. Need some more access. Alex takes out Slothy. 2 for him now as he finishes off Mike. Got him to low HP earlier. And they really do have to worry about this run still. And Rival has just not been dealt with at all on this top shield position. They really don't have a response for a shield in the slightest. Sure, you have these flashbangs, but nonetheless, it's going to force him off as he gets blinded and play safer back to the objective. He knows that they have a man count, they can just play time and wait. I say that though as Rovi walks out, and Joe, I don't know what it is with him and vaulting over balconies or killing people that vault over balconies, but he will pick that kill up.
I'm very confused on why Rovi was positioned there specifically, because everyone is sitting back on the bomb site trying to hold things down. Could still use some of those Kiva barriers to really settle it down, but it does make it take things even for Bros Without Hose and Wasted Talent. Granted, health advantage is in the clear favor of Wasted Talent. Almost every single one of them is on 100 HP. Bros, less than that right now, so they're funneling their way in through this lobby doorway, and it's just going to be easy pickings for Rival right now.
Super good angles from him throughout this round so far. An excellent shot. Quartz, no response to Alex on the vault up 2. He's good for 3. A great shot from him. Joe, they're going to know you're there. They're going to know what they're like, and you're just going to walk right into a crossfire. I said that site was notoriously hard for defense. I might as well have been completely wrong, or it might be opposite state, because Wasted Talent had the absolute perfect hold against BWH.
I mean, just the biggest thing in that round is they weren't able to clear Rival for the longest time, and then they didn't even get the kill onto him. He's just able to just sit there for so long, waste so much time, and then just let the players around him do all the kills or just establish some pressure onto them. The connector push was taking so long. Mike W was on low HP. He has to help wait for Joe to kind of get into position and take that swing onto Epic, who did eventually get the kill, but then immediately got traded right afterwards. So even then, his control is not really well established. Probably needed to take care of Rival first, open up that meeting wall onto the stairs, that way he's forced to walk away further. That's where an ace like that is very important to be in position, because Mike W was sat on the connector wall the entire round.
10 seconds left.
They had an opportunity to rotate around, open up that wall, force Rival down before goes to the bomb site where you can have a cutoff there, but there is no response from Rose. And right now, we're back tied, and it's going to take max regulation to figure out if we're going to go to overtime, or if Wasted Talent so far with the momentum are going to win it out from here.
They won this top floor site last time, and now it's going to be up to them to read into BWH again. And something I just want to touch on really quick too is just the profound effect that Mike W and Quartz had on their success, because it's been a few rounds since Mike W and Quartz in kind have gotten, at least for Quartz it's been a kill, and for Mike W it's been as many kills that he's had in previous, and they've very clearly struggled to find the presence that they had last time. So shaking up that momentum and kind of cutting them off and being able to perform to their highest extent has been crucial in the momentum and confidence for Wasted Talent.
Okay, and Rose Without Hose do get an entry pick that isn't immediately traded. That's going to be very important because Rovi has been the key fragger to note for Wasted Talent right now. That's at least has really the highest amount of kills outside of Rival, who's tied up with him. So now they have an idea of where an L is down below. He's going to have to be forced either back towards Garage, where it's safe at the moment, because this entire push is coming in from this connector side. Bros are trying to cut off these connector players and make sure that there's no real safe space for them. That's a good pinch onto Explicit right now.
Explicit, how do you not kill Mike W there? He was not even looking at you. That is so unfortunate for him. Quickly traded out though. Epic at close range with that super shorty. He's going to take out Mike W, and they're fully ready for this take. All of Wasted Talent is shifted toward that breach. Rival secures the bag onto Snoopy, not before Joe finds his head though, and Alex is just lying in wait, waiting for this electrical player to walk right in. They know this is where the take is coming from. Still trying to be aware of IT, but BWH really doesn't have the position or utility to rotate elsewhere. You saw him, Quartz. I think the Mute Jammer scuffed up his Inox enough that it covered him up. Salafi, though, able to find a pick into sight. Alex, who's been going absolutely bonkers the past 2 rounds, now stuck in a box with Diffuser, but just doesn't hear Salafi walk up right behind him.
I mean, he was going to get pinched either way. There is no way he would very likely survive that unless he went very huge in that moment. But otherwise, just a good real adaptation to just kind of take things one at a time once again for Bros Without Hose. Wasted Talent, just, again, over-aggressing a little bit, not really playing around the bits that they need because, I mean, yeah, sure, Rival, he got the down onto that one player outside the breach, but do you need to secure that kill? Focus on the guy who's actually behind him at that point, get that kill instead, and then it's still a 3v3 at that point. You don't need to really worry about anything else, and then you can even get the man advantage afterwards. So, Rose of that Hose back in the round lead, going on to match point, and we'll just have to see how Wasted Talent take care of it, because they've been on a 3-round win streak aside of that, but that one slip-up may cost them, because I'm just looking at Mike W right now. He's back on the Blitz, and we know how it ended last time he was on that operator.
And this is something that kind of changed from previous. BWH slowed down a little bit, I think. Not even slowed down, but Wasted Talent just met them with a much stronger response than they were used to. But now that they have that confidence back, Mike W back on the Blitz, this could be disastrous for Wasted Talent. BWH is on match point here, so there's a good chance they're looking for a very swift end to this round just to close it out as fast as they possibly can and win this series. So, back into the basement site, BWH is gonna have to worry about the roam clear. The roam for Wasted Talent has been excellent over the past 2 rounds, and it's up to them to really take it piece by piece, as we've seen them do, and close it out.
just trying to figure out where exactly the big piece that Bros are going to be trying to focus on. It does seem that it's going to be on those nano stairs. Boats is going to open up that supply wall over to a kitchen. At the same time, the window for those stairs is going to be opened up as well. So there's clearly a sign of pressure being established on that end. But oh my, how did Quartz just get lit up there? That's just such a nice little spray down through that wall. I don't know if he had the information or not, but Quartz right now is so lucky to be alive.
That is a miracle that he lives there instead of getting down. Just literally a millisecond left, and that P90 would have ripped him apart. BWH scrambling for some information here. Of course, they now are aware of Rival on the roam. The drones are spotting out another player too, supporting him, and Alex all the way upstairs. It is just so much presence trying to meet the face of BWH into this round. Making their way back to site though, and I don't hate this at all, and it's going to start off with a pick from Joe, and more importantly, two for him now, and Mike W is going to be in Nano. Alex, the last remaining player on the roam, is going to try and do his best work by taking out Snoopy, but Mike W is just allowed to get a diffuser down. Rival picks up the kill onto the Thermite, but not before he's quickly traded. Quartz finds the remaining roamer upstairs, and oh my word, BWH. If there's something called a gap spot, you embody it in this round as they win this series out.
And in a way that looks more like themselves from at least the very beginning of this game, where it's just like, okay, we know we have the better guns, we know we have the better players, we just need to be aggressive, get in their faces, and apply tons of pressure to get them into positions that we want. Joe opening up with 2 rounds allows Mike W to get in, get that plant down, and then everyone else just has to do cleanup. Everyone has to watch either for the last few roamers that were still left up or actual positions where Mike W could be pressured on the bomb site itself. Ultimately, great round for Bros Without Host to win that round out.
I mean, it's a similar story to what we saw throughout both these maps. I think these teams were very, I guess the word I would use is stubborn in their playstyle. I don't think there was a whole lot of adaptation of we're going to change how we play to shift our efforts into dismantling the opponent's strategy, but we're going to try and reinforce our strategy as much as possible to overthrow them in a power contest. And for BWH, being able to rely on those guns, they had so many strong picks throughout this map that Wasted Talent were getting the feel for at the end of that match. You had Alex on the Ella, who was absolutely critical on those past like 3 or 4 rounds, as well as Rival being the pretty strong roamer for the majority of Wasted Talent's half. But overall, I think BWH just were more comfortable in their own skin and played much more confidently than Wasted Talent did in those later rounds, which allowed them to evidently secure the victory in the series for themselves.
I mean, you said it perfectly. Just Bros Without Hose just looked way more confident in those last 2 rounds, where it's just like, okay, we have what we need. We just need to actually play like ourselves. Those 3 rounds that they lost initially were just kind of like, okay, we're just kind of letting them do what they want. And we're not really playing it like ourselves. We're just kind of going about it not nearly as confidently, not really swinging nearly as confident as well. On top of that, but playing things up and just allow Mike W to do Mike W things, just run in with blitz and just get that plant down, and that's just going to be how the series just gets decided 2-0 fashion.
See, I think that's all we have. I think we're doing an interview, aren't we? Isn't there an interview in the works?
Yes, we are.
I think we'll get to it in a minute. I'm not quite sure who it's going to be, but I'd imagine there's going to be a lot of notes that they have for themselves throughout that map so far. I think it was a very unique map. They were pretty evenly paced throughout so far. Even throughout Oregon, both of those maps came pretty close. What I think Oregon ended 8-6 it was, as BWH closed out with 2 and 7-5. So I think it comes down to shifting their focus throughout that game and seeing, I'm really excited to see about whoever we pull, of if they noticed how the momentum was kind of shifting throughout, or what their ideas were for how that momentum was shifting and how to find resolutions to that.
So yeah, I mean, just kind of overall, just like, it was kind of just Bros Without Hose just kind of take things apart and just kind of send their gunners into like the biggest gaps that they can find. So I'm very curious to see, because if we do get Joe, I kind of want to pick apart his brain just to see who really helped enable that. Was it him, or was it just those two players really of Quartz and Mike W of actually just getting in, securing those gaps, and then just capitalizing upon them, because really they did that so well throughout that entire series. I mean, constantly I was just looking at the scoreboard and it's like, oh hey, it's Quartz and Mike W just taking so many kills in back-to-back concessions, and just overall it gave them the huge boost that they need in rounds to secure those wins. And then just overall defense or just attackers in regards could not do anything about it, because they're just red hot right now.
And I think Mike W and Quartz were ridiculous. I think they ended, what, like 15 kills or 16 on Mike W and 10 on Quartz respectively. Something like that. Nonetheless, though, I've just been told that we have an interview ready, so I think we're going to grab one of these players so we can pick apart his brain, and that's going to be you, Sirius, so...
And it's Joe joining me. How are you feeling after that one, Joe?
Dude, I'm not gonna lie, I was watching the stream on my other monitor. I didn't realize that was 7-5. I thought we were up like 7-4 or something. I didn't realize it was that close. Like, no lie, I thought we won 7-4.
I mean, yeah, you did give up 3 rounds in a row, but otherwise you clean things up at the very end. I do kind of want to talk to you about that, is just who kind of really helped settle things down at the very end of things, because, I mean, after that, you kind of just let Quartz and Mike W do their own things, spot those gaps. So, like, was it you that was droning them in, or are they just spotting gaps on their own, just saying, hey, guys, I have a huge play to go for here?
Outside of me sitting on a couple hands, like, the slower we were, like, the worse it kind of was, because they were ratting around, and we kind of just figured out, like, at least on Oregon, and we moved over to Nighthaven, just kind of let everyone start walking around. Mike, I mean, all of his kills were immaculate. The real MVP was Quartz. He was the one walking around. Mike did nothing, to be quite honest with you. On the defensive sure, but on our attacks, he did nothing. But like, just in general, like, it just, I don't know. They just left a lot of gaps. Kind of just walked. The last round, I literally started droning sight, and I see Slothy halfway through sight. So I'm like, oh guys, I think we can walk sight here. And I killed 2, and like, it was literally that simple. We waited for a moment, just started walking.
I mean, yeah, because like the rounds that you guys looked phenomenal on is when you looked most comfortable. So I mean, just getting in their faces. So I mean, is aggression just kind of the name of the game for you guys? Is that just kind of like ignore the utility, just get in their face, use our guns to win those rounds out, or like what's the overall game plan for you guys for this?
Not a dog. Clearly didn't help much, right? Like. And yeah. It's just like, you kind of just have to, you know, just throw a couple flashes at them, walk at them. When you have your gaps, just take them. There's no reason to just sit there for 2 minutes, burning shields, opening walls, if you could literally just walk in when they're not expecting. Like, I'm sure you've had in your ranked games more than enough times where you've just been like, oh my God, this guy's right here. Yeah, they probably said that about 17 times on Nighthaven. So, like, you know, there's no reason to just, like, telegraph everything, just open up walls and stuff.
Yeah. I mean, totally. I mean, Happy is our resident gap spotter in our rank stack, so I mean, he's the one who is going to be like, oh, hey, they're already in sight, so we just let Swanberg do that. That's kind of our guy as far as, like, I guess that's our Slothy in terms of that, but regardless of that, I do believe you're going up against Coastal Gaming as the decider match in that, so do you have any words for them as for your next match?
None, but don't be dissing on my boy Snoopy. Don't be dissing on Unc. That's all I'll say. Don't be dissing.
All right.
I saw a little on Twitter after. I saw. Snoopy did his thing. He'll do it again. Wait. I won't get 3 and 9.
Fair enough.
Hopefully. Fingers crossed. I'm old.
Yeah.
That was my weekly old man map.
I mean, hey, you were doing well in some of those rounds. I mean, it was just like, I looked around, it's like, hey, Joe's positive at this point. That doesn't normally happen.
That's so disrespectful. That's actually so messed up.
I just have to mess with you a little bit, Joe.
No, all good. All good. No worries.
Yeah,
I understand. I understand.
Yeah, that's all good. I'll make it up to you and just leave the floor to you to shout out whoever you want now.
Shout out Quartz and Slothy. Slothy's been playing with us. He doesn't necessarily love the game at the moment. He's been stepping up playing the game, at least just for us, and Quartz kind of just coming in last minute to be able to play with us, because I, like, unfortunately could not play today. I just mainly appreciate the 2 of them.
All right. Well, congratulations to you and your team, and good luck in your next matchup against Coastal Gaming, and hope to see you do well in that next one. Always love talking to Joe. It's always nice to kind of pick apart his brain, just kind of figure out, okay, how do you guys go about this? Because I mean, like, he was absolutely right. Just throw flashbangs and just go. That was as simple as that.
They hit the go button so much. It was literally so critical for them. That was, I mean, he called it perfectly. Why would we waste time like moving around the map and opening these things that don't even need to be opened if we have our in here?
I mean,
And
yeah.
And then that's what they did. They found their in, and I mean, he kind of made a joke about it, but like, oh, they said he's just in sight like 17 times on Night Haven, but that seemed to be like the case for the majority of those rounds. Of they were just in some really unexpected positions that simply should not have happened. And granted, Wasted Talent had the chance, opportunity, and skill sets to bring it back in some points. Sometimes it could have been considered like over-aggression in that regard of, oh, we let them too far in, or we push too far in and aren't setting up trades and gaining ground, but nonetheless, it worked for them, and evidently it would end up leading them winning the series. So, Joe's thoughts on that were really insightful, actually, too. I really appreciate that. Was a really nice interview.
Yeah, because I mean, in what is otherwise a very defender-sided meta, I mean, he's totally right. Just ignore all of it, throw flashbangs, get in, get those kills, because you don't have to deal with it at that point. That's honestly what a lot of teams really struggle with, is just kind of ignoring the utility, getting around it however you can, and then just hitting that go button, getting the win no matter how you can, and then just moving on from there, and just, I mean, he riffed on Mike W quite a lot in that interview, but honestly, he did get a few nice crucial picks that kind of open things up and then let Slothy and Quartz do the rest, but otherwise, I still think that was a very critical way of just showcasing how you can attack in this otherwise very defensive-sided meta.
Yeah, great work from these teams overall. Some disgusting shots and some really excellent plays. And kind of a battle of the titans, right? It was two very conflicting play styles that we weren't really expecting to clash that hard, but overall they did, and it was a great match to watch.
Yeah. Well, that's going to do it for our first matchup. That's going to do it for us, and unfortunately, that's going to have to say goodbye to Wasted Talent. They're now eliminated from the series, but Bros Without Host are going to move on to the Coastal Gaming matchup as our decider for Group B, but we'll send it to a quick break to get you into that next matchup.